if there's one thing you've been begging to see, I'll bet that it's hearing a Scottish man talking about and reading through the very first issue of the American Nintendo Power magazine, much beloved of American Nintendo fans, and well known, even though it's now dead. But it was once alive, and this is where it started being alive in Nintendo Power. Look at that logo up there, Nintendo Power, with the 4 lines on the bottom word and the top word. For some reason they're there. They wrote the words Nintendo Power in that nice, lovely font. I do like the yellow letters in Nintendo Power. That's nice, really nice shade of yellow, and I like the red too that's behind it. So that's all good. Looks chewy, like I could put that in my mouth and eat it, but I can't do that because this is a PDF document. Unfortunately, I don't have the actual physical copy of this because I'm not American and I've never read this and have no attachment to it whatsoever. But that's a logo there. That is the logo. They wrote it and decided, hey everybody, we'd better draw some lines to the sides of these words. Doesn't look good without those. I'm assuming that I'm betting that it's stuck. I'm betting that it's stuck. I'm betting that it. Hoopla! Merry Christmas! Ho ho! Ha ha! Yeah! I'm betting that they put those lines there because it would have been boring otherwise. Well, that's what Mario's saying at the bottom there. That's what off-model Mario is saying there. Those distinctly non-Mario colours that he's got on. Look at that with the blue hat. The blue hat and blue overalls. He never wore that. He did wear red and blue, but like not the hat's not blue. Hat's red. He's got all the right colours, but not necessarily in the right order. Much like Toad in the Super Show. In the first 3 episodes of the Super Show, Toad's mushroom head has got the colours inverted, and so is Mario here, which is curious. At least you can say what you like about the Super Show and its questionable animation, but they never messed up. Wait, no, they did mess up that badly. Never mind. Well, you'd think Nintendo themselves, when they went to the trouble of creating their own magazine and presenting to us the front titles page of that very first edition of this magazine to hook the readers, you'd think that when they went to the trouble of creating a pretty hideous looking clay model of Mario in Super Mario Bros. 2, you'd think they would have bothered to make sure that that was the right coloration. Mario has never had that colour scheme in anything he's been in. That is not a suit that Mario wears in any of the games. He doesn't wear that when he's the Fire Flower Mario. He doesn't wear that in one of the flashing sprites when he's transforming into Fire Mario. He just doesn't wear that combination. So good work, Nintendo. And Wart in the background, one of his very few appearances ever. They never like to acknowledge Wart. They say that Wart got a cameo in Zelda Link's Awakening, but I don't think he did. I think what happened there was that they just used his sprite. That's all that was. They just made another character and gave them the same sprite as Wart. But I'm getting far too mixed up in this. According to this PDF document, I've got 110 pages to go through, so I'd better do so. I'd better get started on that. July/August 1986. It can't even decide which month it belongs to. The very, very first issue in this magazine already has an identity crisis. It's a good start, Nintendo. 1988, yeah. $3.60. Now that's 1986. In today's money, that's like $1,000. So this magazine must have got pretty pricey in the later years. Super Mario 2 20-page spectacular. Super Mario Bros. 2. What a way to start off the magazine with the most weird Mario game ever made. Well, I mean Hotel Mario is weirder than this, I suppose, but... Zelda Second Quest. In-depth review. They did an entire review of the second quest of Zelda. It's just the same game with the items in different places and stuff. Baseball Roundup. Oh yeah, it's an American magazine, alright. Even the very first Nintendo Power magazine has a headline about baseball. Yeah, that's what all the Nintendo fans wanted, to play baseball. Am I right, video game culture? Over 50 pro tips. I thought Nintendo Power invented When I was a teenager and I saw the internet people saying, here's a pro tip, do this, for some reason I got it in my mind that Nintendo Power invented that words. But then I started to think, no, that's stupid. Pro tip, that must be an old expression. But, well, there it is right there in the front cover of the first issue. So I don't know what to tell you. Now then, the source for NES players. I mean, sorry, that's offensive to the Nintendo Power readers. The source for NES players, straight from the pros. The pros. The professionals. The professional people who write video game magazines and probably don't actually even play video games at all. Well, I don't have a clue what the industry's like, so what's next? What have we got next? The power line to the pros. We are always coming up with ways to help you play a winning game. What on earth, a winning game? What's with all the sports metaphors here? Did they think all the kids just were sports fanatics? I think even back then, the stereotype for video game players is that they were nerds that didn't play sports, right? That was already an established stereotype even then, wasn't it? Our power line. Nintendo really loved the word power. That's another thing. This magazine's called Nintendo Power because back in the 80s, Nintendo was going through this weird phase where the word power was all over the place. They really wanted to emphasize this concept of power. If you've ever seen the Angry Video Game Nerd and his reviews of all the tacky third-class Taiwanese bootleg merchandise that they made, all had the word power in the name. The power glove, the power pad, the power Powerson, just power everything. And I don't know why. I'm also noticing that magazine that the kid's reading, and, well, I say kid, I mean, is that even a boy or is it it either looks like a 13-year-old boy or a 40-year-old woman to my eyes looking at that. I can't decide. But either way, the magazine that person's reading is look at that, it's the front cover of this one, but Mario is a cartoon, like it's cartoonified, and it looks better in my opinion, although Mario's colours are still wrong, even in that version. If these guys are the pros, I'm not sorry for harping on about this, but if these guys are pros, professional gameplay pro tip players, how did they manage to make such a massive mistake as drawing Mario's colours wrong? Anybody knows that Mario's cap is red and not blue. Maybe you get confused with his dungarees, but the cap is red. I don't know. In fact, our power line to the Nintendo Game Counselors is one of our best ideas yet. Well, it's not. But even then, advertisements just have to just talk about themselves like they're great things. In fact, we have so many video game fans calling that we're putting more game experts on the team. So be patient while we gear up to take more calls and answer more of your questions than ever. Get tips from the pros. Why did I say that? Get tips from the Teletubbies by playing 206-885-7529. That's 885-play. I don't know what that means. That must be an American thing. Play. Oh wait, is that... No, I don't know. It can't be like the mobile phones where you type in letters with the numbers. America's always had letters in their phone numbers like that, P-L-A-Y. That's not a thing Britain had. In the 1980s, we did not have a concept of letters in phone numbers, so I don't know how you did it back then, America. But you did. Monday through Saturday, I'm not going to read out the times. 7 to 11 PM. 4 AM to 8 PM Pacific time. Hey, if you live in the Pacific and want to call Nintendo at 4 AM, then be my guest, guys. It's a powerful connection. Yeah, you get connected straight to these 30-year-old men in what looked like suits. I think they're jackets actually, but maybe suits. This looks more creepy to me than anything actually, this image. What's even happening? The boy's reading the magazine. That 30-year-old man is the one with the phone. And he's the one making the phone call. The boy is not, or that person reading the magazine's not on the phone. That other guy is just creepily watching over the person's shoulder at the magazine. This is a kind of sinister advert. I don't know what they're trying to imply with this. I'm vaguely creeped out by what I'm seeing here. I don't know what it's supposed to mean. Oh dear. Welcome. Huh? What the F is that? Oh, I'm forgetting, of course. Back in the original release, this would have been a 2-page spread magazine. When you flipped the page of the magazine, you'd get 2 full pages side by side, seeing your back. So originally this bit right here with this guy that looks like he's had part of his body cut off was actually on the right hand side of this. You'd be seeing this full image with this on the left and then that on the right. So I wonder how much weirdness we're going to see because of that. Welcome! This is our premiere issue of Nintendo Power, the new bi-monthly magazine that means every 2 months. So it was July and August at the top. New bi-monthly magazine that's going to put more power in the hands of video game players like you than ever before. You know, this is a good point to mention that in Britain, the equivalent of Nintendo Power, at least to me, was a magazine called Nintendo Official Magazine, or NOM, as they called themselves. That was the equivalent of Nintendo Power. That was the official Nintendo magazine of Britain. I think it went through several names, but the one I remember it as is Nintendo Official Magazine, NOM. They changed it to ONM when the original magazine tragically died and got replaced. Nintendo sold it to some other company and all the guys left and I just stopped caring. And so I'll probably be making a lot of parallels to that. But that magazine was monthly. The magazine I had was every month of the year. So, not too monthly, you had to wait twice as long. I always looked forward to that. I loved that thing. I was always so happy to get the latest issue and read all the reviews. Reviews were really important to me. Have I gone on to this before? This might bring out a lot in me, actually, with this discussion of all this stuff. I don't care about Nintendo Power. I thought I was going to laugh at this, but actually I might end up talking a lot about my own past with the British Nintendo Power. Even though it wasn't Nintendo Power, it was a completely different magazine, full of a bunch of much more edgy and stuff. Maybe I should bring out some issues of that to read over, because they were pretty cynical people that wrote that thing. Anyway, but I remember that I always found it strange that the month of the magazine was always a month behind, I think. When it was February, and you went to the shops to buy the latest one, it would be the January edition. And I always thought that was puzzling. I always wondered why they did that. And the theory I came up with at the time, I remember, was that I thought that at some point in the past, over all the years, at some point they must have skipped a month. They must have accidentally not released one during one of the months. And so, ever since then, for some reason, they decided to just... when they did release the next one, then they just still bumped up the month by one on the front cover of the magazine. So if they'd missed the February 2017 magazine, then when it came to March, when March came along, and they finally published the next one, they still called it February's magazine, and they just kept on doing that 1 month behind. That's obviously not true, but that's what my child mind told me was going on. Still don't have an explanation for that, it was weird. Anyway, Nintendo Power is created by video game experts for video game enthusiasts with more than 110 pages. This PDF document has exactly 110 pages on it, Nintendo Power, so I could prove objectively that you're full of postcode lottery there. Packed with in-depth tips, tricks and game reviews on all the best video games you play on your Nintendo Entertainment System. We've packed Nintendo Power full of special features like Pack Watch, which tells you when to look for the latest, greatest hits. Get the hottest tips from the pros in Counselor's Corner. Check classified information for the one-of-a-kind moves you can pool with certain programs like built-in continue. What on earth? What? I thought I was reading that wrong, but no, I didn't. For the one-of-a-kind moves you can pool with certain programs like built-in continue. What on earth? Is that a really weird, old-fashioned way of saying you can use a cheat to get infinite continues? Is that what that's saying? That's really weird. Find out what new video games have just been released in Now Playing. Look at all the never mind looking at Nez Journal. Look at all the quotation marks in this paragraph. Good grief! Look at them all. Every line has another bunch of quotations. They were really uncomfortable about all these terms they've got here. They've got to quote marks them. Imagine somebody saying this in real life. Like, imagine the CEO of Nintendo Power making his inaugural speech about this magazine, and every 10 seconds he's got to finger quote his fingers. Look at NES Journal, look at NES Journal for the latest news about hit arcade games like Vindicators. I've never heard of that. Mailbox, NES Achievers, NES Achievers, Video Spotlight and Top 30 are just a few more features that will keep you glued to Nintendo Power, like Mario to a magic mushroom. The original enclosed instruction book for the first Super Mario Bros. Called the mushrooms that Mario takes to make himself big magic mushrooms. That was the name in the manual. It's in the manual, and it's also here in the first edition of Nintendo Power. They actually called it that. Brilliant. The 60-year-old man that wrote this introduction was, I'm sure he was blissfully unaware of any connotations to that, just as the enclosed instruction book writers were. Every issue, and while we're at it, Birdo is a boy who thinks he's a girl, and all of the blocks in Super Mario Bros. Are dead toads that Mario kills. Although actually that rumour has finally been challenged recently, I've noticed, because people are saying now that actually that what it said was that in the original translation or something like that of the Japanese one, then actually the toads were the question mark blocks, and when Mario hits them they give him the power-ups. When the coins that comes out of blocks, that's the toads, they're giving him presents. So he doesn't kill the toad, he doesn't break the toads into four. If that's true. I think most people of my age like to still believe that Mario's just slaughtering all the toads. Every issue we will have a great big colourful poster that you can pull out and put up on the wall. That's something that never appealed to me. I never cared about posters. I had some posters in my room, but they just languished there. There was like 5 of them. They're all gone now. If you haven't already subscribed to get your copy of Nintendo Power delivered every other month, go for it! All the details you need are on pages 106 to 109 of this issue. We look forward to bringing you Nintendo Power, that you won't find it anywhere but here. You won't find Nintendo Power anywhere other than Nintendo Power. The self-evident statements are already coming at us thick and fast in the welcome page. Getting the tautologies right off, getting the tautologies out there right off the bat. You won't find it. This is your magazine, and we expect to hear from you and other Power players with scores, tips, reviews and ideas when people cared about scores. It's charming. Now you're playing with Power. There's that line. The contents, I don't care about I'll read the subtitles just in case there's some golden 1980s cowabunga, don't have a cow man lines. RBI baseball, yeah, the 3 different baseball games that, in this table of contents, the baseball games have 3 out of the 5 screenshots on display. Our pros can get you out of any video jam. The Prez shows off his stuff. Really, President Trump is in this magazine? He really had his hands in everything. Top secret ultra techniques reported by our intelligent agents. And the future of NES game packs? I wonder what that means. I'm kind of curious about that one. That's the sort of thing, though, that I couldn't have cared less about back then. When I was 10, I would have just seen that and thought, oh, stuff that. I don't care. I'm just here for the reviews. I want to find out what's got at least 90% so that I can buy that. And not consider buying anything that scores less than that. I had ridiculously strict standards. Valuable maps to Double Dragon. The valuable maps. The valuable maps to a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up. The literal embodiment of, if the embodiment of a video game genre that you don't need maps for. If there was ever a kind of video game that did not need maps, it was arcade side-scrolling beat-em-ups, where you literally just punch everything on the screen and then walk to the right, in the direction of the giant arrow that pops up saying go right. You could not possibly get lost if you tried. Well, I mean, there's one level in NES Double Dragon, the forest, where you need to know what to do at one point, but that's it. Gauntlet, explore that, experience the fun of this high-action game. Video shorts, short takes of all the latest releases. Oh, is that like mini reviews? Like 10, like a 2-sentence reviews for the lesser games? That's something the British Nintendo magazine didn't start doing until like 2007. And I thought that was a really modern idea, but it looks like Nintendo Power had it covered in the 80s. There's the staff. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, back when Mike Tyson was still the man, before they replaced him with the very questionably named Mr. Dream. Well, let's give the staff some just credits, don't we? It's good to be nice to the staff. Although, what I'm actually going to do, of course, is look for something funny. Oh, Howard Phillips. I wonder if there's a Nestor. Howard and Nestor are famous characters of this thing. I know nothing about them, except that Nestor's the boy, and Howard is the very generic-looking man. And there was a Virtual Boy game called Nestor's Funky Bowling. Howard Phillips, senior editor. Where's Nestor in this credits list? It's got to be a Nestor. Bunch of Japanese names. But I'm not seeing a Nestor. Just Howard, I guess. Oh, Howard Lincoln as well. I wonder which one of those Howards was Howard from Howard and Nestor named after. Poster art, Kaz Aizawa. Oh, translation, huh? Translation? This was written in English, surely. This was American, right? Maybe they sent this to Japan. Nintendo Power is published in America, and they exists. Okay, so... what on earth? Well, here I was saying this is not Japanese, but this certainly looks Japanese. Look at that, look at Mario's head in the top left. Super! Welcome to the world of dreams. What? That is one creepy Mario face up there. This is definitely Japanese. Super Mario is back in action. Are you ready to conquer 7 worlds with the help of Mario and his 3 friends? 7 worlds where the final world has got 1 less level in it than all the rest of the worlds for some reason. I don't know why they did that. World 7's got 2 levels and every other world's got 3. I guess they were just getting fed up at that point. They had to pay the bills, get this game released. Can't make 1 more level, guys. Pow! It all started late one night with our hero, Mario, had a very strange dream. In his dream, he climbed up a long, winding stairway leading to a door. When he opened the door, he saw a world unlike anything he had ever seen before. As he peered into this wondrous world, he suddenly heard someone say in a faint and distant voice, "Welcome to the world of dreams, the land of Subcon! We have been waiting for you, Mario. We want you and your friends to fight against the evil ruler Ward and bring peace back to the world of dreams!" Yeah, that's the plot. Choose. Each character has unique abilities and talents. I can hardly read the word talents. Make the most of these abilities, including high jumping, floating, and running. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't... No, it does tell you the characters. Even more Japanese page here. This was back in a time when America really didn't like Japanese cute animation, though. Like, they went and... Like, there's a lot of NES games where they took really nice, good-looking cutscenes and Americanized them, which is to say made them look bad and horrible and ghastly. And just... I don't know what that was all about. Right, even as a child, it's like they thought that the kids were... They thought the boys... The little boys that were the main people that played games, they thought that they wanted to see manly American stuff. They thought they wanted everything turned into G.I. Joe. Well, I certainly wasn't that. Even then, I liked the Japanese cute stuff. I loved that. I loved that a lot better than what I was supposed to like. There's a game on the Super Nintendo called Cybernator. One of the most egregious examples of this. They took that, it was a Japanese space shooting science fiction game, and there's a lot of talking in it, lots of talking. And all the characters had a little Japanese face that appeared when they said something. But in the American version of it, they kept all the dialogue in, the text, but they took out the faces. And they didn't, in that case, they didn't even replace them with American faces. They just took the faces out completely. You can't tell who's speaking. There's like 6 different characters talking. And there's no indication of who's talking, or who's saying what, or what each person even is. Like it says, oh, McCready wants to do this. Well, you don't even know who McCready is. That's just about the only time that they ever did this Americanizing of artwork well, was with Totally Rad. I'd say that was the only game that ever got done to that became better because of it. Now, well, yeah, so this was the phase when Nintendo was doing that, but they're happy to have the chibi art stuff here. Look at the Princess Peach, the Princess Toadstool back then. Look at the orange-haired Princess Toadstool and a heart, love heart there. And Mario and Luigi looking really dorky. Really dorky looking Mario and Luigi. Toad with his blue dots, which is what he does have in this game, his dots are blue. Anyway, one of these 4 characters is belated. Mario is an average jumper, and Luigi's a high jumper. It's funny how they just completely disregarded that later. In the RPGs, it's always Mario that's the big jumper. Mario loses his jump when he carries items. Yeah, the characters have got those special skills. I'm not going to read everything in this. How to play. Mario, Luigi, Princess Toadstool, the Mushroom Retainer. The Mushroom Retainer. We call them Toadin up there. I'm pretty sure, I'm fairly confident these days, I'm more and more confident as I get older, in my theory that the idea that gamers of my age have, that there is a particular Toad called Toad in the Mario world, entirely came from this game, and the cartoon, the Super Show. We got the idea that there was a specific Toad, who was called Toad, and he was this one character that was separate from every other Toad that ever appears. It's all because of this game, and it says right here, plain as day, the Mushroom Retainer. He's just a generic Mushroom Retainer. Which is another weird term, Mushroom Retainer. I don't know what they called them that for. I think it means he's like a servant to the Queen, or the Princess rather. But yeah, he's just a generic Toad servant. He was never anybody. Anyway, they're getting deeply involved in a strange dream. A strange dream world. Deeply involved in this dream world. Run and jump and vegetables. Make it through the 7 worlds to learn special techniques to complete it and then practice. Because it's an old, hard game. Learn how to jump in 3 different ways. The power squat jump. Yeah, that's when you lower down and jump up. I love these old magazines and their excited things like this. Excitable picture tutorials. See, there's Mario on the ground, and then, whoa, follow the big arrow away over there, squat down, and boom, there, jump, yeah! And Mario jumps up. It's just, they're so excited about this. They're just telling you to hold down and press A a couple of seconds later. So, do all this stuff. Yeah, press A to obstacles. Here's the basics of video games. This is back in a time when it was actually... when telling you how to to jump was like a tutorial worth putting in a magazine. So Mario throws things and picks things up. Super Mario Bros. 2. Defeat your enemies. This page is surrounded with a bunch of dotted orange rectangles, like as if you were supposed to cut this out. And again with all these Mario, these extremely Japanese Mario faces in the little circles. Maybe this was translated from Japanese. Because I doubt they would have just made this for the American one, would they? All these pictures of Mario. Maybe there is more of a history to this magazine than I'm aware of. Defeat your enemies. The world of dreams consists of 7 worlds. Each world has 3 areas except for the 7th. Yeah, they acknowledge that up front. All areas have a little boss at the end. When you defeat him... Wait a minute, hang on a second. Are they talking about Birdo? Is Birdo the little boss? And when you defeat him, you'll finish the area. And you will finish each world when you defeat the little boss of the last area. They are saying that. They're saying that you got to beat Birdo at the end of each area, and then when you defeat him, you finish the area. That was not just the enclosed instruction book that acknowledged Birdo was a boy. Nintendo Power itself did as well. Take that, there's some more evidence to add to the archive of transgender Birdo. This is an expose I'm doing here. I've never seen anybody mention this right here. That seals it. That crunches it. Nintendo knew what they were doing. You have 3 chances to continue the play from... 3 chances to continue the play from the first area of the world you were last on. And now all of the tutorials. I think I'm going to skip all the tutorial stuff, even though there's a lot of stuff to say here. Like, look at this. Zoom, bam, snap, fup, badoom. Where did comic artists get these stupid sound effects? Fup. Who would say that? Bamf. How did they come up with these? Did they think to themselves, what would this sound like? What would it sound like if I were to throw a mushroom? That sounds like fup. It doesn't even sound like fup in the game. I know what the sound sounds like. I wouldn't call it fup. What would I call it? And now when he throws it, it goes like... And then when it hits something, it goes... Certainly not fup. That's for sure. Items that help Mario and his friends. And again, if the blue hat, what is going on with that? This is a consistent art style thing they've done here. Consistently getting Mario wrong. As you work your way through the dangers of the World of Dreams, you will discover 16 items. It's so precise. Help you to get the best of your enemies. Give your character's life and get you to advantageous places, but the effectiveness is this. So here's all the items. The mushroom, not the magic mushroom this time. It will appear only when you enter into subspace. 1-up mushroom, which literally has the word 1-up written on it. I don't know why they didn't just do the old green and yellow mushroom, like they did in Super Mario Bros. 1, but they just went for the word 1-up this time. A coin, which looks more like a rupee in this game, from Zelda. The origins of the power block made its first appearance. No, it didn't. Sorry, no, the power block was in the Mario Bros. Arcade game, where they're in the sewers when something's coming up the plumbing pool. Luigi's in a bind, giant turtles have to get him, giant crabs are right behind. Something bleeders jipes, they're all coming out the pipes. Mario, where are you? And then Luigi's head gets grabbed by a crab's claw, and we never see from him again. Maybe it's like the Paul is dead from the Beatles. Maybe Luigi's been dead ever since that commercial for Atari Mario Brothers. Nintendo's just never revealed it. He's been hanging from the rafters in his mansion ever since. Ah, you see. Yeah. That was a clever reference I made there. See who gets it. Know your enemies. In Subcon, the World of Dreams, you'll find many different and strange creatures lurking at every turn. Yeah, one of them was certainly very strange and different to for 1980s social sensibilities, but I doubt they're going to get into that. They are the Moppets of what? Okay, I've never heard that word before. Moppets of what? Who try in every way they can to interfere with and stop the brave heroes. Mario, Luigi, Princess and Toad, the Mushroom Retainer. The key to victory lies in your ability to study and learn the different strengths and weaknesses of each Moppet. Again with the word Moppet, you're sticking with that here. That wasn't a one-off. You're going with that. That way you can plan the best way to tackle what. After you learn how to beat every one of these bad bozos, then head to World 7 and what. And we've got a box here that's wrapped up in a rope and tied up with rope at the side. You can't switch your character until you complete the world you're on. Make your selection carefully at the beginning of each world. There's Birdo and all the baddies. Tri-Clyde and Fry Guy, and I don't know what's going on with what. I mean, it looks like he's like rocketing up with fire thrusters from the ground, like he's just flying up into the air. He is the most mischievous of all the rascals in the World of Dreams. He created monsters by playing with the Dream Machine. I forgot about that. I forgot about these parts of the plot. You know, sometimes the stuff you're most familiar with is the stuff that you're actually not really very familiar with at all. You get so wrapped up in your ideas about it that you lose the ability to notice the stuff you'd forgotten. I forgot about the Dream Machine stuff. He's creating monsters with a Dream Machine. More Japan? What on earth, the Mario Olympics? Peach has done a running jump onto some sand, and there's little what on earth are those things? Parsnips? Little parsnips in the ground. Little sprouts for some reason. There's a Sniffet running the track. A rocket flying in, and it looks like the rocket's either going to crash into the Fry Guy or possibly Luigi in his shorts. A whole load of Sniffets here. There's those ninja things, ninjas, the snakes. Mario's got a Bob-omb, which debuted in this game, and it's a pun on the name Bob as well. I didn't realise that till the Mario RPG Maker commentary a few years ago. The Bobs are just called Bob-omb as a pun on Bob. Bob-bomb. I never realised that all these years. And there's a Shy Guy with that Japanese snot bubble thing you get when you're sleeping. Luigi's about to jump on him. A javelin in the ground. Okay. Why is Mario running with a Bob-omb anyway? Is that the relay race? Oh, there's more, sorry. What's that? Wait, what's that green thing? What's that? Since when was that a thing that existed? I don't know what that green reptile thing is. What's that? I think they just made him up. Loads of shy guys. Playing sports. A hedgehog. This was before Sonic. Toad has got a... my brain wasn't able to interpret what that was he was holding at first. It's upside down Mouser. It's Mouser. It's Nazi Mouser from the Super Show. You will not get away with this, Toad! I don't know why he's a Nazi in the Super Show, but he is. You plumbers will pay the price! That superstar's got stuck in the ground. So yeah, Toad's going to throw Mouser in the shot put, and there's Birdo at the bottom, who looks very different indeed from like everything I've ever seen of Birdo. Actually looks like a boy there. Where's the bow tie? Where's the ribbon? Birdo's... Maybe Nintendo Power thought he was a boy. Maybe they didn't realise he's supposed to be a girl. You know, no ribbon here. Maybe they were just trying to avoid that whole thing. But if that's the case, why did they put that in the manual? Super Mario Bros. 2 Sports Festival. 4 competitors are showing off their talents. Yeah. Okay, so World 1-1, as told to us by a clown for some reason. Why not? A clown, sure. Bit like the clown car that Bowser drives in Mario World. Interesting. But at this point in time, there was no clowns. We'll give important pointers on how to tackle each area in Super Mario Bros. 2 to be on the safe side. To be on the safe side, try out characters and stuff. Jumping. Whoa! Approach the waterfall! Whoa! All the characters except Mario can easily jump over this waterfall to the other side, but Mario unfortunately can't. Doesn't Toad have the smallest jump in this game? But he's the fastest runner. Mario 2 experts know that Toad is actually the best character in the game. Toad's the best one. Well, Toad has the most flexible movement and ease of control. It's a bit like how in Donkey Kong Country 2, when you become good at the game, you find that Diddy is actually the better character because he's got better controls, even though he doesn't have the helicopter hair spinning thing. When you're a child and you're new to it and you're playing that, you think Dixie's the way to go. You think it's all about her slow hair descent, but then eventually you realise that Diddy controls better. He's got better movement, and you actually generally, if you can handle the challenge, you're better off with him. Where are we? Where do we leave off? Still with Super Mario Bros. 2. Now let's look at that yellow box at the bottom. Secret hint 1. Watch out for looming shy guys before you enter into subspace. You can get the first mushroom here. Okay. Yeah, the first mushroom. That's right, in every level of Super Mario Bros. 2, you can get 2 special mushrooms that you find in subspace when you throw a potion somewhere and open a door to access subspace in that one screen that you threw it on. Only one screen width's worth of land in subspace can be accessed from that door. And in every level you can find 2 mushrooms through these doors to get 2 extra maximum health points. In every single level of the game you start out with 2 health maximum. And in that level you can upgrade that to 4 maximum, but then when you go to the next level, or area as they're calling them here, then they go away. You got to find them again. A weird mechanic really. Anyway, you don't tend to see that much. Take a shortcut. If you have a powerful jump you can leap over the waterfall. Yeah, we've seen all that. Wait, this is a... oh crumbs, this actually is a level by level. This is a level by level walkthrough of Mario 2, isn't it? This is literally every single level of the game gets its own special thing. Like 1, 2, all of them with that clown face as well, holding up the level name flag. After all, I suppose. They've got this intermeshing going on. There's a intermingling going on with the 2 different colour styles of Mario. Look at them, they're both on the same page here. There's him with the red hat there, there's him with the blue hat there. I'd like to know why They're interspersing these two. It's not like they didn't realise they were doing it, surely. They just didn't care, I suppose. Maybe they're colourblind. That's possible. It's not strictly an impossibility that that's happening. There's Birdo. You know how to handle him. Using bombs wisely. Use bombs wisely. That's what they're saying there. Have courage. The map of the place. The map of the place. Followed by the guides on what to do in the place. You know. I wonder how they did stuff like this back in those days. Like that, this rectangle here of the level. They must have taken photographs of the screen at every screen length apart and then edited them together somehow in 1988 Photoshop. AKA stapling the photos together, I suppose, I don't know. Cross the river. Now you will encounter rivers to make 3 consecutive log rides. Are you ready for 3 waterfalls in a row? Hopefully the answer's yes. Come, Magic Cloud! Come, Magic Cloud! Oh! My every life day. This isn't the Star Wars Holiday Special, get out of here. I saw a thing somewhere saying that the famous Star Wars Holiday Special, if you've not heard of it, is a rather infamous little piece of Star Wars history. A little TV special, I say a little TV special, a 2-hour-long TV special that was broadcast in 1979 or thereabouts, and literally has never been officially broadcast in any form or released on any kind of DVD or anything ever since. That one night is the only time it's ever been officially given to the public, and yet the thing is on YouTube. People have been circulating the tapes for that for decades. It's famously terrible. I've never watched it. I'll bet it's not actually terrible, but it's famously terrible. My experience in life is that all the stuff everyone says is bad is actually not bad, but that's just my opinion. Now, where are we?
Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Oh, where are we? Where are we?
Nintendo Power, that's right. Nintendo Power! Nintendo Power! I don't know if the Angry Video Game Nerd's friend wrote that song or if that was an actual song. I don't know. Don't care to find out. Back to Nintendo Power. You might have noticed that I've been trying a new approach with this commentary for the first time for once in my life. I've decided to try and speak in a more slow and comprehensible fashion to people that aren't Scottish. Because it has finally occurred to me after years upon years of these videos that maybe the international audience don't understand anything I'm ever saying. So let's see how everybody reacts to me talking a bit more slowly now. Not easy for me, of course. There'll be teething troubles, but I'm sure that I'll pick up the craft eventually. So, back to the Nintendo Power. How to escape from Phanto. We left off across the river. Look at Mario running after that mushroom with his yellow gloves that he shouldn't have and his purple dungarees. What is with this magazine and its colours? They just can't decide what they believe in. Mario is just everything and nothing. Look up the top left of this page here. That image of Mario holding that mushroom is the classic Mario image. That picture was official artwork that was all over the place back then. I think that picture was even on the box of Super Mario Bros. 2. But they still messed up the colours here, because the colours are correct in every other version. I've got to stop talking about Mario's colour scheme. But it really does beg belief with me. So cross the river and get that mushroom. Mario's really desperate for that mushroom. Like, he's addicted to that thing. He needs it urgently. Look at his face. That's the face of a man desperate for a mushroom. So there's Nazi Mauser throwing his bombs at Mario. Mario's not looking too pleased about that. I mean, he's got a German accent. He's not a Nazi, obviously. But when I was a child, I thought he literally was meant to be, well, not literally meant to be a Nazi, but I thought he was meant to be evoking Nazi stereotypes. Like, I thought he was meant to be like a stereotypical evil Nazi general guy, in a 1940s war movie.
So, we have captured you, swine Marios. Now, if you want to escape with your life, you will have to confess your military secrets.
I think that probably is what they were going for. I think they were doing that.
Okay, prisoners, down those stairs. Move it, move it, move it. Stay in this dungeon where you... Hey! What's dripping on me? Who's doing that?
In here, quick! Wait a minute. You're always saying in here quick. You're always saying in here quick. In here. Okay, then you say it.
Maybe he's not supposed to be German. Maybe he's Russian or something. I mean, yeah, Russian is more likely because it was an 80s cartoon when Russia was the evil ones. Russia was the bad guys in every movie. Who's the bad guys now? It would be Middle Eastern terrorists, but I think that they're not quite comfortable doing that. But if the world was the same as it was back then, it would be Middle Eastern terrorists now. Would be all the bad... Well, except ironically they were the bad guys in like the 90s and that in these movies. That was before 9/11. Back when they were doing much more innocent stuff. Like, holding hostages in exchange for lots of money and stuff like that. More innocent times, really. Back when they hijacked planes so that they could escape to a country instead of so that they could blow the plane up. And something else with it. Anyway, I should probably stop with that line of inquiry now. So, that was Nazi Mauser. That's all that came out of that. Secret Room. That's Fanto. Final battle to clear World 1. We're only not even out of World 1. I'm going to have to speed things up a bit. Although I want to comment on that picture of Mario at the bottom, shoveling the dirt. I know what part of the level that is. The shoveling, the digging earth bit. That's pretty weird, really. That whole bit is kind of strange when you think about it, but Mario was digging with just as intent of a look on his face as he had when he was running after that mushroom. I think that image in the bottom right with Mario throwing a fireball was used in the Super Mario Land instruction book, except there the colours, it wasn't coloured in, it was red and white, like Game Boy instruction books were for some reason. Again, with the cloud at the top, there's Birdo, who has her ribbon on here. Didn't earlier, and they're still calling him. The little boss. Birdo's the little boss. It's so charming, little boss. I've often wondered about video games, actually. I've wondered in the early days of video games where we got all of these terms, these words that we use, like boss, for example. The concept of a boss. Where did the word boss come from? Because if you're like me and you're constantly dissecting and pulling apart everything that you know, to see it differently and that, you realise that words like boss and even level and world are really quite weird. This boss, like why would we call a particularly difficult enemy at the end of a level, we call a boss? Like as in, what, like the boss of a company? The boss of, why did they start calling them that? It's just completely accepted now, but these words must have come from somewhere. Back in like the 70s, I'm guessing. I'm guessing all these video game words came from the 70s, in arcades. But I don't think the game makers themselves ever called them bosses back then. And all that we had back then was just 12-year-olds playing in arcades all around the countries of the world. How did they all agree on this shared vocabulary? How did this get out? How did the word boss become the word that everybody uses everywhere? In the ancient mysterious days before the internet existed. But if you're anything like me, I feel like my generation doesn't feel this way so much. The younger generation does, but in any case, I feel this way. I feel like before the internet, I'm baffled how anybody learned anything. How did any information travel and stuff before the internet existed? I mean, I know we've got television, but like, it's mystifying to me to think there was a time when if you wanted to know something, you couldn't just type some words into a box on a screen in your house and find out the answer. We really have turned into the Jetsons, haven't we? When you stop and think about it, you realise just how much the world actually has advanced, like the Jetsons thought it would. The difference is that sometimes we look at these old movies and stuff from the old days, like the 60s, predicting what the future would look like, and we laugh our heads off at how ridiculous it looks. Everybody living in saucers on the moon and stuff. It all just looks laughable. The flying cars and things, the hoverboards in Back to the Future. Looks really stupid, but then you realise that, oh, wait, actually, some of the stuff we've got really is insanely advanced and amazing compared to back then. So anyway, boss. That's my question to you. Where'd the word boss come from in video games? That's the golden question. There's no real reason why they would have used the word boss to describe powerful enemies. Don't be discouraged. The world of desert seems extremely difficult when you are not used to it. It's a continuation of World 1. Yeah, it follows World 1. It's the world after World 1. I know, Nintendo. You don't need to tell us that. Even the 5-year-olds reading this can understand that World 2 comes after World 1. However, I like how it's telling us this in the second level of World 2 as well. The jars are closer together. Quicksand and secret rooms. Birdo. Birdo gets a section on every page. Approach Birdo, he spits eggs. He does. Get down and booge.
Get down and booge! Booge! Yeah, booge! Let's booge! Blame it on the booge!
I think that was meant to say boogie. There's a typo in a Nintendo magazine. I never quite got that line in the Angry Video Game Nerd's review of Double Dragon 3. Double Dragon 3, when he's pointing out Bimmy and Jimmy, he says, I can't believe this, there's a typo in a Nintendo game. Was that meant to be... Was he meant to be sarcastic with that line? Was that the joke? Because he didn't really... He sounded kind of serious. Like he seemed surprised that a typo slipped through in a Nintendo game. But obviously, like, everyone that knows Nintendo games knows they're jam-packed with them. I think that was meant to be sarcastic. For some reason, it always struck me like he was being sincere there. Anyway, okay. What? Oh no! You hadn't expected to encounter a little boss in this area. Yeah, the boss. The Triclide. Well, he had a ridiculous voice. What on earth? Is that it? Does the guide just end? It just suddenly, after Triclide, bam, it's Zelda. It's the weird... What kind of sword? That's not Link's sword. What on earth is that thing? Look at that. What on earth? What is that? It looks like a science fiction sword. That is the weirdest looking over-elaborate sword I've ever seen in my life, and I think I might be serious as well. Look at that! What is this? It's a white honeycomb-looking thing at the left with a red light at the bottom of it, and a green circle thing beside it, and then all these weird yellow and red. It's like a futuristic sword. Well, I mean, it's... how to enter... Well, it's not much less out of place than the sabre that appears on the title screen of the original Legend of Zelda. The completely different type of sword from the one that Link uses in every game. How to enter another world. If you successfully fought your way through the game, but accidentally erased your name, enter Zelda when you register. It will start your second adventure right away. I knew about that. Putting the name Zelda lets you do the second quest, which is... Like I said earlier, just the norm. It's just the same game, but it's a bit harder. They swapped the dungeons around and changed up where items are. That screenshot there has been moved off balance slightly. What's different from the first quest? The structure of the second quest is almost the same as the first quest, except for 3 geographical features. But you still have to think over your strategy because things like hidden caves in the second quest are located in different places. Check out the enclosed map if you want to know where everything is. I've not seen that picture of Link before, that's interesting. What in it? Who's that in the bottom left? What? Is that Ganon? Is that Ganon? Man, I've never seen these pictures before. Look at Zelda in the bottom right, what does she look like? Quite a bit different from... Well, not that much different, but different from later. That's got to be Ganon in the bottom left. Man, I didn't know that's what he looked like originally. Story. When you break...
What? Were you brave enough to beat all of Ganon's henchmen in the first quest? Were you crafty enough to find your way through the many hazards to Ganon's lair? And then were you mighty enough to take on Ganon, the ultimate bad guy, and win by throwing a book at him? If your answer is yes, get ready for another super challenge, the second quest of The Legend of Zelda. The land of Hyrule still isn't safe. You beat Ganon once, but you must do it again. Can you be victorious the second time around? Sharpen your sword and your wits.
Strategy maps for conquest of the underworld. There's Link again with his cross sword, his cross shield that he had in the first game. I just think they got rid of that later. Because according to Shigeru Miyamoto, Christianity is the official religion of Hyrule. I don't quite know how that works, given that it's a different fantasy world, but I guess it does work. I'm no theologian there, Loyan. I mean, the Moa show's got Christmas. Well, most things seem to have Christmas, so yeah, what do I know? Shows what I know. There are two big differences between the quests. Let's just talk about the quests. Stealth forces throw their swords. Maze is simple but. That sounds like a line that one of the old men would say in this game. Maze is simple but. And that's it. Just nothing but that. You just walk into a room and he says that. World's enemy bait grumble. What's the grumble? Why is there just the word grumble? Get the whistle. Gleeok. Do you have enough money? You better get some money. Oh, look at that, rubies! Just like Morshu calls it.
You want it? It's yours, my friend, as long as you have enough rubies. Sorry, Link, I can't give credit. Come back when you're a little... richer.
The magic book. Unless I got a cross on it, so it looks like a Bible. Maybe that's meant to be a Bible, actually. But Nintendo of America, of course, in their classical fashion, censored it. Nintendo of America was notorious for censoring any reference to religion at all in their games. I never quite understood why religion in their games. I always thought that was a bit weird. I don't know why they had such... Like, what exactly was the reason for that? Like, why did they do it? What was the reason? I've always wondered why they censored it. Like, why were they so worried about children seeing religious symbols? I'm not going to get my answer now. So, bobs.
If you pay 100 rupees, you can get bobs? You could increase your bobs? Bobs? There's no lamp oil or rope
in this game, though. What a tough enemy. Be cautious with red bubbles. There's off-model Link. He's on-model in 1988, but he looks pretty dorky now. Did you get the magical sword? Don't get lost. The last piece of the Triforce. And now, it's kind of funny how the first issue of Nintendo Power tells you how to get through the second quest of The Legend of Zelda, when really most players... When I think most players needed more help getting through the first quest. Anybody that was actually able to get through the first quest probably didn't need a guide for the second one. Because this game was obscure beyond measure. And now, a new adventure. Oh wait, it's an advertisement for the sequel that everybody hates. Except me. I love it. In fact, I actually made a Let's Play of this. Well, I started one. Back in 2007. I made 5 parts, I think, of it. But I never uploaded them. Maybe I'll put them up one day. There's nothing much to say. Nothing much to be seen of it. I used a camcorder. I was recording off of the Wii Virtual Console on my television, just like everything back then. So it's not the prettiest thing to watch. I've not watched those videos myself for 10 years either. Did you defeat Ganon successfully? Want more? Then buy this. Well, it's coming soon. Real fighting scenes. When a battle starts, you'll get a close-up of the scene with big lifelike characters. Real fighting scenes. That's the marketing there. Wow, this is an amazing thing. The game transitions from the world map to the normal fighting graphics when you're fighting things. Gasp, amazing. If you talk to people living in the towns, you will get all kinds of different pointers. You'll also get women inviting you into their homes to restore your health by undisclosed means. And old women to do the same thing to restore your magic. People like to speculate on what on earth those women do to Link to make that happen, but I don't believe Nintendo has given an official explanation. And it's possibly for the best. This map, I found this map on the internet way back in the day. I gave it to Rob once to help him play the game because he was trying to play it years and years after we were children. Well, small children. Be sure to meet all the people. The buyer's guide. A table of what you could buy where. Okay. What on earth is this? Oh, here we go. It's the baseball. It's the baseball section. A baseball poster. This is what all the kids are. This is what all the kids bought this for. The baseball roundup.
Well said, Robin.
Are you ready, ball fans? Here comes a triple header that's going to...
I don't know what that means. That's going to pack your NES stadium with more thrills, more excitement, and more big league action than you ever dreamed. But that you ever dreamed. The bases are loaded. I don't know what that means either. The bases are loaded. What on earth does that mean? They got machine guns? What?
The bases are loaded. The pennant race,
I don't know what that means either, is raging. And you're at bat. You're at bat. I've heard of up to bat. This is going to be just nothing but words I've never heard. This isn't take me out to the ball game. Well, if I'd read this any time sooner than like 6 months ago, I wouldn't have known what that meant, but I do know what that means now, because I used that song at the Moa show. Take me out to the ball game. That's what they sound like singing. That's what they sound like in the 1930s recording of that song.
wow, 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 wow. Take me out to the ball game.
You're actually out there playing Major League Baseball, and 1 million sports fans are counting on you to bring home the glory. You'll hear the roar of the crowd. Yeah, you'll hear the of the Nintendo Entertainment System crowd. When the bases are loaded, and you hit the big one that brings home the pennant. What on earth is the pennant? What? Is that what they play for in baseball? They're trying to get a pennant? What even is a pennant? Isn't it just like a scarf or a flag? Something like that? Is that what they get instead of a trophy? A piece of cloth?
Play ball.
Cheating. Official licensee of the Major League Baseball. Well, I've heard of the Major League of Baseball. I don't know how many leagues there are. I guess they're the equivalent of the British Premier League. Oh, sorry, the Barclays Premier League, excuse me, for football. The Barclays Premier League, where all the big boys play. 12 top teams are lined up against one another for the championship. It's the bottom of the ninth, whatever that means, in the final game of the World Series, whatever that means. You're at bat. Your team needs 1 homer. I'm guessing that means home run, and it's really stupid. Just 1. You're up against an ace pitcher. I know what that means. Here comes the wind-up. I don't know what that means. Here comes the wind-up. I don't know what that means. Pro players. These are the actual lineups used in the major leagues. Pick your... I don't know what a lineup is either. Lineup. Pick your gameplay. You can choose the coach or join the starting lineup. RBI lets you play ball in one of 3 ways. Play against the computer in a sizzling 9-game season. Take on a friend for 9 innings. Innings? I thought that was just cricket. I didn't think baseball called it innings as well. Or a best of 7 series. Or call the shots as coach. All-star lineup. An all-star lineup of... the all-star lineup of that exact same sprite, I'm guessing, every time, but with different names. There's a... What is this? Okay, this is one weird-looking baseball manager. This is a bit of a shift in the art style from the Mario 2 bit, isn't it? You're the manager. Team management. You call the shots. Follow your game plan. Change players. Send in a relief pitcher, whatever that means. Can you... Also, what's this about game plan? What plan? What plan is involved in trying to hit a ball and then run around a bunch of spots on the ground and hope that the people trying to catch it don't catch it before it hits the ground. Because if they do that, then you just lose no matter how well you do. That's a really unfair rule. I'm not gonna bottle up my feelings on that one. That's a very unfair rule in any sport. You smash that ball beautifully, but like if one of the people in the field just happens to, one of the people runs up, like it happens to be nearby it, and they run up and manage to get lucky enough to catch it before it hits the ground, then you just you lost. You fail. You fail it. Your skill is not enough. How are you supposed to, how is the batter supposed to stop that happening? You call the shots. Follow your game plan. Change set. Can you rely on that pinch hitter, whatever that is? You need better than a bat boy. A lot better. Pick your team from 26 major league teams. They're all playing hardball. Oh, is that a baseball word? Hardball? I don't know what that means either. Or line up your own team with players of your choice. Choose your favourite team for a winning lineup. This is today's order. Let's go. Today's order. Decide your order of batting. Is this the game plan? Is this the intense strategy? Deciding what order the batters bat? This feels to me like it's people trying to convince themselves that like the manager trying to convince himself he has a reason to exist. Alright guys, I've got an excellent strategy here. Jenkins is going to bat first, and then Bobson's going to bat second. What difference does it make, sir? Don't ask questions, I'm the boss. Decide your order. Bases loaded. You thought your starting pitcher could go the distance, but unlike Hercules, you've picked a wimp. One more hit and the game is all over. This looks bad. Time, pitch, here's your chance. RBI baseball. I don't know what RBI means. Think smart as you use your 4 substitute players. Don't waste their strength. Call for a relief pitcher. Pitcher's mound. Each team has its own great players, but you need to play it smart. Your best pitcher is in a slump. Can you count on that game-saving rookie? You have to sharpen your strategy or you're out of the old ball game. 12 top teams are lined up against each other. I don't hate sports, but I've never cared about sports. Actually, it'd be more accurate to say I used to play badminton. I played golf sometimes and things. I enjoyed playing some sports, but one thing I've never cared about is watching other people play sports. That's not of interest to me at all. I've never cared for it. Never cared, but I've certainly never cared about never cared for the tribalism that goes on with sports, and especially not the national country versus country stuff that every athletic event seems to get put under for some reason. I don't know what that's all about, but whatever. So, you can change your position on the mound for a perfect pitch. Before you wind up the pitch, decide on the speed and curve of your ball. You can direct the way you pitch your ball with your control pad, but don't throw any homers. Homers, you won't believe the realism. Just look at these outstanding graphics. The pitcher's viewpoint actually changes depending on whether you throw with your right or your left. They actually go to the trouble of flipping the screen if you're left or right-handed. It just boggles the mind. If you're a hot pitcher, this game really has your slow with the play. This is it. Still going, batter's box. Each batter bats and the average home infield runs pays to off your nose. You got 2 things down in order to swing your way to fast base, timing and position inside the batter's box. These boxes they draw in the baseball pitch, I don't know what they mean. Well, I'm guessing the batter has to stand inside this rectangle. I'm guessing that's all that is. Winnie the Pooh didn't get any such luxury in the base home run derby. There was no box telling you where to stand there. And I don't think real baseball suffers the problem of the ball turning invisible in mid-throw, or zigzagging down the field, or randomly speeding up in the middle of the air. Except I think I read online that actually there are some of these magical looking moves in Winnie the Pooh's Home Run Derby actually do exist. I think the speed up slow down one actually does happen. They actually can make the ball speed up in the middle of the air. But I don't think that any of them have learned how to turn it invisible. I don't think. Bunt. What on earth is bunt? Shift your grip to bunt the ball and move the bat to meet the pitch. I'm just looking for words I don't know. The monster swing of the bat and the Tengen Sports News. Hot off the press, runs, hits and errors. New York wins, SF loses. I don't know what SF is. Now it's your turn to play ball. Each of these free games will offer you 3 different kinds of frees. He's showing free. Play ball. I'm really getting fed up with this now. Goodness sake. Good. I know America likes its baseball, but holy smokes. I'm pretty sure that even America didn't ask for this. Didn't ask for 20 pages of baseball. Oh, finally it's over. That was all just Greek to me. None of that meant a thing to me. What's he? That blue guy's clobbering the red one. Brother, beanball battle. Wait a minute. The pitcher throws a wild pitch and hits the batter. A wild beanball battle breaks out and the batter is thrown out of the game. Please don't tell me that beanball battle is an actual baseball term. Is that what they call it when the two sides actually start fighting each other? I didn't think baseball was a violent sport. I didn't think the players tended to go start punching each other's lights out. But if they've got a term for it, and a term as ridiculous as beanball battle, then I suppose anything goes. Counsellor's Corner. There's Nestor. Welcome to Counsellor's Corner. This is where we answer letters from players who have found themselves stuck again and again in the same spot, or lost in a maze, or unable to beat a formidable opponent, or in a number of other fixes. This is the place to get your questions answered by the pros. Ghosts and Goblins. In Ghost Goblins, is there a stage select? Also, how do I beat the Red Devil? Yeah, nobody could beat that little red blow. Let's start with the stage selection question. I didn't know there was a stage select in Ghosts and Goblins. I've never seen anybody use that on YouTube. That's pretty useful to know. This is the most unfair game ever made. It's not... Ghosts and Goblins on the NES is very famous, but everybody knows it, and like I think it's considered a classic. But it was made by some company called Micronix, I think it is. It was made by this notoriously bad company that usually did really bad conversions of arcade games. Capcom made the Ghosts and Goblins arcade game, but they did not make this NES port. Micronix made it, and Micronix are the same people that made another NES game based on an arcade game called Athena, which is famously considered one of the absolute worst NES games ever made. So like the reason why Ghosts and Goblins is so hard on the NES is mainly because it's so unfair and broken, because it was made by talentless hacks. So the more you know. Very tough game. What was their advice for the Red Devil? When you find the Red Devil at the right hand side of the screen, throw a spear at him, hope you've got a spear, then quickly run back to the left. If he does not follow you, then your strategy will be a big success. I think that's how they do it on YouTube as well, yeah. So basically, yeah, that's what all the Let's Players ended up getting reduced to doing. when this guy appears, just edge slightly closer and closer towards him, and just throw your weapon and just hope that when it hits him, he doesn't fly up and start coming at you, because if he does, you're dead. There's basically no strategy but random chance here. The advice here is just edge up really slightly and try and hit him, and just hope that he doesn't react. And if he does react, then they've got absolutely no advice whatsoever. Their advice is literally to try to glitch the game out. Hit him and run away, and then hopefully when you go back over to the right, he'll be gone. The game will have moved the sprite off the screen. The game will have forgotten the enemy exists. Ring King, a game that people have heard of for exactly one reason, and I'm not going to go into what that is. While I'm playing Ring King, sometimes the letter P appears in the ring. What does it mean? I wonder what it could possibly mean. Power points, it's P. Protect Punch Metroid. In Metroid, I have a hard time finding the power-up items. I usually get wiped out before I find them. Can you help? No! Oh, they've got a very handy map. Actually, very nice. This is a map. Imagine this. Yeah, look at this, in fact. Yeah, we answer letters. Think about this. Somebody wrote in a letter just asking this 3-sentence question. And the editors went to the considerable trouble of creating this map here. Look at all these screenshots and stuff they had to take in 1986, 1988. They must have had to take photos of the TV or something to build up this massive map and point out where everything is and label it. Just because some 60-year-old wrote a letter in. I feel like they just wouldn't do that now. That's a lot of effort they put in. They never did anything like that in the UK magazine for letters. The really unlimited one-ups. Oh, the turtle shell trick. The turtle shell tricks. I'd never heard of that infinite one-ups trick. I had never heard of that in my life until the internet. But here it is in the first issue of Nintendo Power. This really was famous. I don't know how I didn't find out about this. It's just sort of there. And then the fireworks, yeah. Kid Icarus can't beat Huge Roo. Kid, what? You couldn't beat this Bozo the Clown? Kid, are you kidding me? Kid, there's a lot of things that you can find. There's a lot of things to find hard in Kid Icarus, but this idiot is not one of them. At the underworld, the first level of the game is insanely hard. But I remember as a child, getting to this boss and just beating them the first time. I think I had like 1 attack power. I'd never upgraded it, and that means you hit 1 HP with every hit. That means that you hit them for 1 HP of damage every time, and this boss has 200 health, so I had to shoot him 200 times, and I did not die. All he does is just jump out of the lava below, and then he arcs over your head if you're standing on one of these platforms, and then falls back into the lava again. So whoever wrote this letter in, you're a failure, kid. Yeah, no, if that person that wrote that is actually reading this, then I've just destroyed them. I've just wrecked them, for their ego is truly just devastated now. They'll have to quit their respectable chartered accountancy job, which they've managed to procure in the time since they wrote this, and just give up on life altogether. Just go home. Just go home. You're useless. His boss, because he actually is reading this now, I've decided that's canon, his boss pulls him in one day. The next morning when he goes into the office to do his accounts, and he puts on his green visor. His boss knocks on the door that he's got his own room, because he's a senior respectable chartered accountant, and the boss says, I'd like to see... Excuse me, Jefferson. I'd like a word with you in my office, please. And then he takes him into his office and then he just beckons him silently with his finger to come over to his side of the room, in front of the computer screen. And then he just tilts the computer screen over to him and shows him this image right here of this question. And then the chartered accountant just reels back in horror, saying, "I thought I'd put that behind me! No!" And the boss just immediately says, "I thought better of you, Jefferson. You're fired." And so that's the tragic end of Jefferson's chartered accountancy career. Let's see what Nintendo has to say about this. Huge Raw's weak point is his head. Try this. Jump off of his head and avoid his attack. Attack? Oh, did he have an attack? Oh, like maybe I wasn't giving Jefferson enough credit. But I do remember I was able to clobber this guy, and I was quite bad at games back then. I've gotten better. I've only gotten better over the years. Some people say they've gotten worse at games as they've grown older. Not me. The worst I ever was at games is when I was a child. I've only gotten better since. The Pegasus flute in Rygar. Castlevania. No matter how many times I can't beat the 5 bosses. If you can't beat the 5 bosses, how do you get to level 2 if you can't beat the first one? I'm starting to be suspicious of these questions. It's almost as if they actually didn't get these questions written in, and they actually decided to ask the questions themselves. It's almost like that's the reason they made a massive map of Metroid. Castlevania. One of the reasons the game is so popular is the variety of challenge. There certainly is a variety of challenge in this game. Develop a strategy that includes weapon, position for attack, and weak point to use on each of your opponents. Here's a start with some good advice on choice of weapon. Let's see, the Grim Reaper, the hardest boss in the game. Debatably the hardest boss in the whole series. What's their advice? A boomerang or dagger will make sure that he doesn't come back to haunt you. I think the little kids need a bit more advice on dealing with the Grim Reaper in this game, Nintendo. Or Dracula himself. A boomerang, however. The Carry Warriors. Our first ever appearance of Nestor. I mean, his face popped up in a couple of little images before, but like this is the first time that he's actually doing something down there. Help, please! What's Nestor's voice? Carry Warriors. Is there a built-in continuous stage select for Carry Warriors? Yes, there is, and it's the only reason anybody ever finished this game. Because holy smokes.
Help! Please tell me how I can get my NES back from my father! He's glued to the seat!
That was Nesta. You'll have to practice a lot though, because you have to be fast to make it work. Wait. Look at this code here. Stage select. On the title screen, push up, down, A, B, left, right, A, B, up, A, down, right, right, left, B, up, left, A, right, B, left, right, A, left, up, A, down, A, right, left, A, start. Stage 1 then appears next to the airplane screen. And you've got to be fast to type the thing in before the title screen ends. What on earth? As if this game wasn't hard enough. Even entering the cheats is hard. Wait, is Howard Nestor's father? I'll find out, I'm sure. There's got to be a Howard and Nestor comic in this at some point. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I had several bouts with Tyson. I've never beaten him. Please help, I want to win the dream bout. You can... Well, let's see what... Oh, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is a very hard game, and Mike Tyson himself, I can speak from experience, Mike Tyson himself is monstrously hard. He's unbelievably difficult. He really is crushingly hard. He literally knocks you out with one punch. Unless he throws one of his soft punches, which will just knock you out in like 3 punches. And he doesn't even throw a single one of them until like 1 minute into the fight. You can help yourself out a great deal by knocking out Tyson's ability to use his dynamite punch. Just don't let him land one in the first minute and a half of the round. 1.5 minutes! I was wrong, not a minute, 1.5 minutes. Nintendo Power proves it, they say so themselves. Then, start landing as many strategic counter blows as you can to wear him down and gradually earn points toward your victory. Yeah, like, yeah, so what they're saying there is that don't even attempt to hit him for the first 1.5 minutes, and just don't even attempt to delude yourself into thinking you can possibly win by a knockout. You just get enough points to win by a decision. You can't... I don't know if it's possible to beat Mike Tyson with a triple knockout. And this, I'd imagine it is, but it's probably not what's going to happen.
Let's go after Tyson with the above strategy. Don't try to be too aggressive with Iron Mike.
Is that what his name was back then? Is that what they called him? There's a misconception. There's a very understandable misconception that the reason why Mike Tyson's name was taken off this game was to do with him biting people's ears off and possibly raping women and saying that he was going to kill another boxer's children and stuff like that. But according to something that I read, it was actually just because he lost the World Boxing Championship. It wasn't for one of those much better reasons to relinquish the sponsorship from him that I just said.
When Tyson winks, he is about to throw a straight punch. It's not his strangest one, but you may lose the game by a TKO if you underestimate him.
It's his strangest one? What's wrong with me?
It's not his strongest one. During the bout, Tyson would blink both eyes. This means that a flurry of straight punches are coming up. Be on guard.
Yeah, I was trying to be like a tubular 90s Sonic the Hedgehog style person there. But I feel like I just sounded more like Brad Jones. Speak up. Counselor's Corner is all about questions you have concerning NES game packs. We'll answer all kinds of questions like how can I defeat this opponent, or where can I find hidden objects? Yeah, that's the sort of question a little child would phone in the Nintendo hotline with. But the thing is, the catch is, that probably is exactly what they would say. They'd probably pick up the phone and dial, and they'd get a man on the other end saying, "Hello, Nintendo hotline, how can I help you?" And the 5-year-old would say, "How can I beat this enemy?" And then there's like 5 seconds of awkward silence, and the person sighs and says, "And what game are you playing, kid?" "I'm playing the game with the guy that shoots things." "Yeah, there's a lot of games like that, kid. Can you narrow it down?"
"And he's got red hair."
"Okay."
"And the bit at the back, the bit at the top is black."
"What does that mean?"
There's music playing. Yeah, I'm sure there is. We'd like to help you out we'd like to help out as many of you as possible. Oh, I've just spotted Howard and Nestor on the next page. So please send your request for advice on how to get out of any video jam, and you just might see the response printed here. I guess these really were legitimate questions then. That massive Metroid map really was just crafted for one poor soul that wrote in to ask. Of course, if you just can't wait for the answer, you can always call this number. Again with the 4 AM to 8 PM times. Alright, finally getting to it. Howard and Nestor, there's boring, stuffy looking, average person Nestor, who's probably younger than me, canonically. Probably younger than me now. Mario is like 23. When you start to get older than your beloved cartoon stars, that's when it hits you. When Mario is older than you, you know the dream's dead. The writers of The Simpsons allegedly decided to raise Homer's age at some point, Homer Simpson's age, when they realised after like 15 years of episodes that they were actually getting to his age themselves. That disturbed them so much they actually raised his age canonically. That's such a childish thing to do. But that's what they did. Johnny Bravo will be younger than me. Mike Tyson is younger than me. Well, he was. At least he's a real person, so he continues to age. Whereas Mario never does. Doesn't it feel weird when you realise that one of those really old adults, when you were like 6 years old, you reach 25 and suddenly you're older than them, and you think, what? No, that's not possible. He was like ancient. I'm not a real person. I doubt I'm the only person that just assumed I wasn't a real person. I'm not a real person. I'm not older than them. I'm not older than Fox McCloud. Yeah, how old's Fox for that matter? Again, younger than me, I'm sure. It's a safe bet that any character it's a safe bet that any main character in any kind of media is younger than me now, because I'm already dead to every medium of expression. I'm already dead to the film industry, the music industry, the TV industry, the video game industry, just anything basically. Next, I mean, how far is this going to go? Next it'll be like you got to be 10 years old or younger to be anything. Next it'll be like anybody that's over the age of 14 is just past it. That's where we're heading. The days when everybody wanted to be like the days when everybody tried to look older than they were, and they couldn't wait till they were 60. Those days just seem to have vanished for some reason. Our cult of youth is getting a bit overboard. It'll probably come crashing to a crash at some point in my lifetime. That's my prediction. We'll all go back to elder worship again, if that hasn't happened yet. I don't keep touch enough with culture to find out. I mean, I've been putting this off long enough. It's the Howard and Nestor comic. It's time to stop pretending that I've been trying to think of a voice to give Howard for the last 5 minutes and start reading this. We've got Howard and Nestor. Nestor has evidently crossed out his own name and written it in a mildly less neat-looking way. It's not really that impressive, Nestor, although he looks impressed by it. You know what, the art style of Howard and Nestor reminds me of the classic Pokemon art style. The early Pokemon games, the official art for the early Pokemon games, used to have this look to it like that. I've brought this up before. I don't know how to describe it, but it's got this lot of shading, a lot of sort of very polished looking, woody looking shading. It feels like an old oak house that you're walking through, but it's characters. I still haven't thought of a way to express it, but there's something about it. There's something unique about it.
Hello, I'm Howard Phillips, president of the Nintendo Fun Club, and this is my good friend Nestor.
So that's what he's his good friend. It's like 20 years younger than him. That would be considered... This relationship would already be considered really bad now. From the first panel, from the very first image of the first Howard and Nestor comic, these two have already got a relationship that would be considered taboo now. That would be considered dodgy now. The parents would be up in arms over portraying a positive relationship between a child and an older person who's not their family or friends of the family. I've got to get off these high horses.
Howard, Nestor, you.
I should be president.
Playing Zelda today, I see. You should have found levels 8 and 9 by now.
Oh, I'm just messing around. I know where they are. I can't find them.
I bet you've forgotten where they are.
You think you're so smart.
Are you kidding? Level 8 is hidden in the second screen up, third from the right, under the tree in the path.
Ah, I didn't check that tree.
Level 9 is under a rock in the 6th screen from the left on the top. Use the map on page 35-6 of this magazine.
I should have looked there.
Anything else I can help you with?
Yes, no, I already knew where they were. I could have found them on my own.
Thanks for stopping by. See you next time.
He's not so smart.
Also, Howard's dinky little yellow bow tie is really, really cheesy. Although, yeah, he's the president of the Fun Club, so he must have been that Howard that was in the credits. The big Howard, the big high-ranking Howard. Must be him. But who Nestor is still a mystery, though. I mean, I'm guessing he was named after NES, Nestor. But maybe he was the actual name of a real person. Maybe he was Howard's son. No, it says he's his friend. Who knows? I've heard that the final issue of Nintendo Power, the very last page, was the final Howard and Nestor comic. They brought it back after it had been dead for 20 years. And it was how Nestor was all grown up. And he was passing on. He'd become the new Howard, I guess. And he was teaching his child about games. And it was a very touching, nostalgic moment. But I've not seen that. Ugh. Classified information. Oh dear. Oh, what have we gotten ourselves into now? Classified information. I think we should be turning around at this. I'm not qualified to read this classified information. What's going to be in here? What's going to be in this? The joke about something Nintendo related? I don't know. The instruction book? No. Welcome to Classified Information, the place where programmers and pros reveal top-secret program quirks and ultra techniques. Read them, practice them, and astound your friends with your on-screen hocus-pocus and cool tricks. You'll be amazed at the secrets hidden deep within your favourite games. And you'll be even more amazed when you learn how to do them yourself. The tricks in this issue are from the agents at Nintendo. Top-secret agents, the James Bonds of the Nintendo world. But we'd like to see if you've made any discoveries during gameplay. Maybe it's Golgo13 that they sent in to get this classified information. I don't know how he did that, considering that all he can say is dots, but maybe they finally got a way to get him to speak.
No, please.
Okay. Have you found any hidden commands for continue or invincibility or anything else? If so, let us know. I think that a lot of these old classical cheats in video games, where you got to press a bunch of buttons on the title screen to get infinite lives and things like that, I think those things started out because those things originated as the programmers putting in those things so that they themselves could have an easier time testing the game when they were making it. They didn't want to die all the time and get game over, so they gave themselves maximum health so they could bounce about the levels and see if they'd accidentally fall, see if they'd fall underneath the solid platform and check that they wouldn't get, the screen wouldn't just start going crazy for no reason, checking for glitches and stuff. But they left these codes in the game, and then when it got released, people found out about them. I've never read that anywhere, but that's my suspicion. That's my suspicion now, that's where it comes from. Certainly some of them came from that. Whenever a thing was called debug mode, anything called debug in a game, that was exactly that. Because debug literally means checking to remove errors in games. Well, in anything, in any computer program. That's where that word came from. Debug. when I was a child and when I first saw that in one of the magazines talking about a Star Wars game, I think it said open debug mode. I thought, what on earth's that? Something to do with bugs? I don't get it. Well, anyway. So that's just my theory about cheats, but it sounds real to me. I'm sure that's the reason. Send your quirks and comments to Nintendo Power. Pull the goalie and go for it in ice hockey. So Agent 001 has reported this one. Put in this command to get ice hockey cheats. Indeed, goalies... Oh yeah, I remember hearing about this, that's right. You can just delete the goalie. There's no goalkeeper in ice hockey. The infamous 30 extra lives in Contra cheat. Possibly one of the most famous cheats of all time, in fact. Cheats are a dead thing to the video game industry now, but one company, the company that kept cheats alive, I think out of the longest out of all of them, would have to be Rareware. Rareware kept cheats going long after they were beyond dead, after they were corpses, after they were skeletons, after the skeletons had been broken up and there was just nothing there at all. Rareware was still had cheats. Banjo-Kazooie had cheats, Banjo-Tooie had cheats. They didn't just have cheats though, they pushed them into the game. Unlike these classic cheats, which were big top secrets you were never supposed to find out about, they had them right up smashed in your face. The characters talked about them and stuff. I don't know why they were so in love with cheats. Especially considering that, from what I've read recently, from what I've seen on the internet, it seems that in Britain we didn't even call them cheats back then, we called them pokes, which is something I don't remember hearing about back then, but that's what it seems they called them. Rareware. Maybe it's because they're British. I think Britain had a strangely lovey-dovey relationship with cheats. We seem to be in love with the things. Maybe because it was the only possible way that a human being could complete most of these old British games like Monty on the Run. And even then you'd have a hard time. And even then you could get stuck and be unable to finish the thing anyway. Like you might jump into a screen at the wrong angle and you can't avoid hitting an enemy for all eternity. Anyway...
Overwhelm the aliens.
There's a version of Contra, I think, funnily enough, one of the versions that was just released on these British computer systems from the 80s. There's a version where when you finish it, then the ending is, instead of the ending being like it is in every other version, the ending says that the alien base, the alien mother base explodes and causes a nuclear reaction that destroys the planet, and the Earth explodes, and that's the ending. Classic Britain. Good old Britishness, huh? Only in Britain. Get an instant recharge with 30 new men. That reminds me of the cheat I read in the about Tom and Jerry on the NES, where it said where it said you could get infinite Jerrys and something like that. And I imagined just tons of Jerrys appearing on the screen. I thought, wow, infinite Jerrys? Really? Just loads of Jerrys all appearing at once on the screen? How do you control all of them? That was how my child mind interpreted that. And I mean, yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? That's how you'd interpret it. But no, it just meant lives. Heavy-hitting hardware. Gun.smoke. Oh yeah, Gun.smoke. I've heard of that game.
Rad Racer.
Made by Squaresoft. You see that square symbol there? It's not too well known that they used to make games that weren't RPGs, but they did. Rad Racer, 3D World Runner, or something like that, King's Knight. They had a little track record before they made Final Fantasy, and then after that it was just the end of an era for them. They made the game that blonde-haired twonce bangs on about his precious power glove for in The Wizard. Squaresoft made that game.
Are you ready for a hot race? Start your game by choosing your car and get a demonstration screen. Next, increase the tachometer reading by pushing the B button.
Tachometer reading.
If you push the start button while also pushing an upper right plus button, pushing up and right on the control pad, push of the B button increases the indicator to 2. The first 1 and 2 mean course 1, and the next 4 numbers mean course 2. If you set the indicator to the maximum 16, you can start from course 8. That way, you can choose any course that any you want to start from. The final scene is a surprise of its own. Use the tachometer trick to see it. If you push the B button at least 60 times by applying area select, you can see the final scene. If you press the B button by 60 times, you can see the final scene. Mushroom magic means maximum strength. Nintendo really didn't. Nintendo just blasely throws magic and mushroom into the same sentence all the time in this magic magazine. Find the magic mushroom and equip yourself with the mightiest items. I can't believe they've even. Wait a minute. Why am I talking about that? Why am I talking about that when I should be talking about the fact that they're covering a cheat for Athena of all games, which I mentioned earlier in this, one of the most legendarily bad NES games, NES games ever made. They've got a coverage of that. They're talking about learning to do tricks and cheats in this game as if anybody would want to play it. Well, maybe it's not that bad. It probably isn't. I mean, I say stuff like that. I mean, I say stuff like this game's bad to be cool, which is pretty laughable in and of itself to think I could ever be cool. Even within the very low standards of coolness of the video game community, but well, the truth is I never seem to hate anything. As soon as I sit down and watch or play something, I just see nothing but goodness. I just don't judge it. I don't know. I'm just perfectly at peace with what I'm seeing. I've never really gelled with this whole angry reviewing culture that sprung up from YouTube after the Angry Video Game Nerd. Well, it's not just them. The Angry Video Game Nerd did not start the idea of just, like, angrily complaining about reviewing old video games. It was not his. Well, he certainly was one of the first people. Maybe he was the first one to do it in videos, but he was certainly not the start of that. Maybe this has been lost to time, but long before him, back before YouTube and videos, the text-based websites ranting and screaming about old games were all over the place. That was a big cult. That was the video game culture on the internet. Like, before Angry Video Game Nerd and before the Nostalgia Critic and all of his movie reviewing people, and before all of them, Angry Joe and the like, they're very much continuing the mantle of the early 2000s. 2000 to 2004 or so was ask anybody of my age. There was tons of these sorts of websites back then, ranting about these old things, complaining about them. Pretty immaturely most of the time, but they were still doing it. Sean Baby would be a good example of that. He's still well known. There was loads of them. I can't think of any particularly right now. That was all the rage back then. Just like the angry reviewing is now. Except the angry reviewing, don't know if that's still so popular anymore. The Nostalgia Critic and friends have started falling into more and more controversy these days. There seems to be a fallout going there. Seems to be a fallout going on there. But yeah, the point is I never really fit into that stuff. The thing I did that was the closest to that would be Greatest of Fantasy, and even then I was trying to avoid being negative all the time. Here's the thing, I loved that. I loved The Secret of the Stars. I actually liked it, I enjoyed it. It's actually one of my preferred Super Nintendo RPGs. Like, nobody else agrees, but I actually liked it. That's why I was making that series. And still am. It's not finished, you know. But yeah. I never, for all of my cynical sounding ranting and stuff, it's usually just me trying to think of funny stuff to say. By and large, I don't find myself hating things, which would probably include Athena if I ever played it, but I've not. Maybe this would be the straw that breaks my back, though. Maybe that would finally unleash the beast that's been building up all these years. Who knows? Agent 125. I meant to be checking if there was an Agent 007. We've got at least 502 agents working for this magazine. We've got a lot of agents. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Another World Circuit. Oh wait, I don't think I knew about this actually. There's a second quest to Punch-Out! I don't think I knew about this.
another world circuit. That's interesting. I wasn't aware of that. Well, I've got that on the Wii Virtual Console. Maybe I should give that a try sometime. Arkanoid. Arca-noid. Avoid the Arkanoid. Stage select and continue mode. Stage select for that. Ring King's back again. I had another thing in this magazine already somewhere. When this screen appears, that's not this screen. Now, this screen is on the bottom right, I see. How would you like to be able to swing and punch? Let's see what the caption is for this screen. See how easy it is? See how easy it is to clobber your opponent? Yeah, I'm getting a very clear view of that in that image. You could win this with one hand tied behind your back.
Oh, it's to be a Nintendo cheat.
Flame and Fortune. Flame and Fortune. If you go... Wait, Flame and... Oh, yeah, Ninja Kid. Have I heard of Ninja Kid? I don't think I have. Zanak, I've heard of that. I've never played it though. Not even seen a video of it. There's a lot of games I've not played, but I've seen videos on YouTube. Now, Double Dragon. This was big back in the day, kids. This was one of the very first side-scrolling beat-em-ups, which is a genre that mattered in the 90s, and never again since. So most of you watching this couldn't care less, but it mattered. The Double Dragon was big. Martial arts expert Bimmy Lee hits the streets with a vengeance. His mission? To save the... Do you possess the strength to slam? Several ways to play. Yeah, there's that weird Street Fighter style fighting game that they put in this game for some weird reason, the NES version. Okay, there's the man from that Japanese anime. I don't know what that is. Fist of the North Star, I think. Fist of the North Star. It's got a Japanese name as well, but whatever. Never seen it. I know that Un likes it, but I don't know much else about it. I keep singing the Take Me Out to the Ball game. I'm trying to think if I've got anything to say about Double Dragon. I mean, I owned this. I had this one. Look at this page, it's just all about attacking people. Punch, headbutt, elbow punch, and these and those and that and the others. Oh, this is, yeah. I think I was too stupid to realise this as a child, but this game has a level up system, of all things. NES Double Dragon has level ups. Just like River City Ransom. Well, not just like it, but similar. You get experience points from hitting enemies, and once you get enough, you increase your level, which all it means, I think, is that you just got access to a new skill, a new move, rather. You got to unlock your moves by leveling up. And oddly, the weaker the move you use, the more experience points you get from it, I think. So if you care about these moves, you want to just keep punching everything with the standard punch. Very odd.
Mission. Let's get on the road to save Marion, man. When you finish beating all the enemies, you can go forward as indicated by the foam zone. You know who keep the enemy, you can score, and you can also move up a layer with heart and reach 1,000 points.
Yeah, that's the leveling up. River City Ransom's a cult classic. Some people hate it though. But some people love it. I played it. It's a game. Certainly quirky. Everybody looks the same as well. The same exact body. Except the girls. Except the two girls that exist in the game. One of which you don't even have to see. And the other of which only exists in a cutscene. Yeah, one of the two girls that exists in the game, you don't even have to see her. And she's the entire plot of the game. She got kidnapped, but you don't even have to bother rescuing her. And it does nothing if you do. Really weird choice. Gameplay choice. Boss room. This would be a Bobo. A Bobo. He got his own game recently. He got his own game that really feels like a 2001 Newgrounds Flash game. Like a remake of one of those or something. It feels like it's just exactly the the same style as those. I don't know how to put it into better words. It feels like one of those old ancient games made by 13-year-olds, but one of them grew up and made it now. The same, exact same, like really juvenile, gross sense of humour and everything, which is nice. Yeah, there's Linda, whatever it was, Linda. According to something, every enemy, they've all got names in this series. Williams. All the enemies have names in this, Williams and Roper and things. According to something, they're all named after people from Bruce Lee films. That's a guide for... Let's see what it's a guide for Double Dragon. Let's see what it's got to say about the forest level, because that is the one level that needs a guide. Because it's got an unbelievably stupid... it's got an insanely obscure trick you need to do to progress, where... Is it going to tell us? It doesn't look like it even says. It doesn't even... Wait, hang on. You can't get in the cave until you beat the 2 Abobos. I don't know how I figured this out as a child, because it's not obvious at all. But if you keep walking right and punching in this level, then unlike with every single other side-scrolling beat-em-up ever made, unlike any of those, if you keep walking right after a certain point, you'll loop round to the start without even realising it. The game doesn't even make it obvious this has happened. It'll just take you back to the start of the level and you won't notice. The only way to progress is in the part where the 2 Abobos punch out of the cave and fight you. After you beat them, and only after you beat them, you can't even do it while they're alive. Only afterwards you can walk through the cave. So even if you try walking through the hole they leave while they're still alive, it won't let you go through. So, like, that's just another reason to fail to notice that you can do that. That's really cruel. That was just mean, programmers. Not as mean as the brick wall things in the final level that push on you. I never got past level 3 of this game as a child. I do remember getting to the cave. I got in those caves, but I think I died there. Never made it through. You've got 3 lives to complete the entire game. It's one of those. Who is the shadow boss? What does it even matter? Oh wait, he's the evil twin in this version, that's right. He's your evil twin. Because they couldn't make a 2-player option with Bimmy in this one. Challenge the Gauntlet. In the NES version, they didn't have 2 players of the first game. Challenge the Gauntlet for Return of the Sacred Orb. Well, they do have 2 players in that. The Street Fighter minigame thing. In the Street Fighter minigame part. Which maybe that was why they added that, just to have a 2-player section. Challenge the Gauntlet for Return of the Sacred Orb. Gauntle. Play Gauntle. I've heard of Gauntle. Another old classic, generic 1980s fantasy things. Black clouds in the sky and there's thunder in the distance. And something's been somethinged by someone. So now bad stuff. But don't worry because we'll go and make things good again. And a guide for Gauntlet, I don't feel like reading any of that. There's the Arnold Schwarzenegger rip-off Contra man. I think he's making the exact same pose as some Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Yeah, all these 1980s bodybuilder muscle men that just shot stuff with guns. It really doesn't make much sense, does it? I mean, Twiggy McGinty could pick up a gun and shoot Arnold Schwarzenegger's head, and that would be the end of Arnold Schwarzenegger. All his muscles aren't going to save him there. And I don't understand this idea that I don't understand this thing of 80s action films where the heroes just shoot stuff with guns and they're extremely muscular. It's not going to help. Twiggy McGee could pick up a gun and shoot somebody, and it's going to be just as effective as if Arnold Schwarzenegger does it. Unlike in some RPGs, your attacks, your strength is not going to help the gun to shoot its bullet any better. Our brave warriors have been bravely braved. Go back.
The ultra-radical action is about to start! The ultra-radical action is about to start! Good luck!
The year is 2631. I didn't know this was set in the future. Let alone that far into the future. You'd never have guessed. Arnold Schwarzenegger hasn't aged a day. Nor has his friend, who I think is Rambo, actually. That's supposed to be Rambo. Schwarzenegger and Rambo. I didn't notice the Rambo guy before. Operation Alien Waste has begun. They're officially pooper scoopers for aliens. Those alien friends, your alien friends will cook your goose. I remember language like that in these 90s things. Your alien friends will cook your goose. Friends. I think child me would have looked at that. I think child me would have looked at that and thought, friends? They're not my friends. I wasn't quite that stupid, but I probably would have thought it was weird of them to say that. I was Big the Cat when I was 6 years old. Are you ready for alien annihilation? That was how I thought it was spelled. That was how I thought you said that back then, annihilation. Although I noticed that they've not got two N's there like it should have. Disgraceful stuff. What are they doing? Howard didn't do his job editing this. For shame, Howard. Well, he's the president. Donald Trump doesn't have to proofread the speeches he gets given, which probably explains a lot. Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune are the most popular TV game shows in the US. Okay? We don't have Jeopardy. Britain stole a lot of American game shows from the old days. Like the
Price is Right and Play Your Cards Right.
And Wheel of Fortune. And a whole host of others. Supermarket Sweep, we had versions of those. But we never had Jeopardy. We never ever had Jeopardy. I don't know why that didn't come to Britain. So I don't actually know much about Jeopardy. I know that it's got some kind of weird thing where they try to... What is it they got to do? They got to present their answers in the form of a question, I think. Or I think they're given the answer to a question, but they have to guess what the question was. It's a backwards game show. It's quite strange. It's the opposite of what they normally do in a game show. But we don't have Jeopardy in Britain. I don't know why, because it's not because it was too stupid of an idea, because again, I repeat, we had Supermarket Sweep. So, I think anything goes. If you don't know what Supermarket Sweep is, look it up. It's a game show in a supermarket, and you run around with a trolley shoving giant inflatable bananas and stuff into the trolley, and it's all really goofy and laughable. But Dale Winton's dead, unfortunately. So, fat chance of a revival that's any cop whatsoever. They'll just get some bland, uninspired, lifeless, modern game show host to present it, just like all of them. So anyway, yeah, play Wheel of Fortune. Oh, I think this is the game where they've got a task on YouTube somewhere, a tool-assisted speedrun where the player puts in all kinds of absurd answers and vulgar stuff, and the game considers them all correct. What's this? These letters, RTNTSE, are the most often selected for the final round on TV. Wow, how fascinating. My life's been turned around learning that. Just as they say on TV, anything can happen in Final Jeopardy. Again, I'll take your word for that too. But before you see what happens for you, first you need to pick your category, and you got to whip there's Nestor in the middle. He's doing decently with $1,000, but Howard is clearly Howard's winning bow tie just always wins the day for him. Making the peace symbol. I didn't think America knew what that was in the 80s, but I guess so. There's Annie in the right too. Don't know who she is. And Nestor's got the little Japanese sweat drop as well. Maybe America was more familiar with Japanese art, like animation conventions back then. I don't know. I just keep not giving enough credit to things. Legendary wigs. In ancient times when the world was young, the dark force was the flat screens. God of War. Whoa, that head is pretty creepy. Pretty good looking for NES too. That yellow head in the bottom left looks... I'm legitimately impressed at how good that looks for the NES. Legendary wigs from Capcom. I think I've heard of this, but I don't know anything about it. The Now Playing section of Nintendo Power features every single new release video game now available. This is the part then where they have these really short reviews. So yeah, they're fairly short, not that short. When it said it's going to review every single game that's coming out this month, I thought it would have to have like one sentence for every single game, but I guess there wasn't that many games that came out every month back then. Every 2 months rather. don't know how well known this is. In Japan, I've discovered recently, Japan got tons of games that we didn't get. And it's well known that Japan keeps a lot of its games to itself. But, like, in the NES games, they kept a lot to themselves. NES and SNES, there is tons of games that did not come out of Japan. And in a lot of the cases, it's because they're too bad. A lot of the time, that's for good reason. They got a lot of trash that never saw anywhere outside of Japan. Like, if the people like the Angry Video Game Nerd, think that we got some bad games in the West, then they should see some of the Japanese ones that never got released over here. They'd think twice. The AVGN would think twice about complaining about the NES Ghostbusters if he ever got to see Stargazer, the science fiction RPG from Japan. Seriously, try complaining about Secret of the Stars after playing Stargazer. Just try it. If you play Stargazer, it really gives you a newfound appreciation for how good every other RPG in the world is. Any RPG that people don't like Final Fantasy VIII, is just a million miles better than Stargazer. Because, for one thing, they actually function. And you might say that RPG's got bad mechanics, but at least they've got mechanics that don't crash the game. At least the starting town is visible on the world map. At least when you exit a cave halfway over the world, you don't appear at the starting town for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Legendary Iron Tank. Warning, a huge enemy Fulton approaches. Gun dot smoke. What's the dots or?
Watch out, cowboy. Get 'em all. Rambo.
Oh yeah, Rambo. He was a video game based on the all-time movie hit Rambo. Except there never was a movie called Rambo. Oh wait, there was. Rambo First Blood Part 2. That was it. That was the first movie that had Rambo in the title in this series. And it's just as fast and action-packed in the video game version. You've seen Rambo. It's just as fast and action-packed in the video game version as the movie. It's like you're playing the movie on your own TV. Remember the part of the movie where Rambo shouts some Japanese letters and somebody turns into a frog? Remember that in the movie? No, you weren't watching close enough. The story goes that the combat-hardened Rambo, a Green Beret and hero, whatever Green Beret is, I don't know what that means, hero of the Vietnam War, returns to Vietnam to rescue his buddies who were captured and still held in the jungles of Nam. In the rainforest, against the worst that nature and war can dish out. Yeah, nature, like the giant monster spider. Yeah, he spends a lot of the game just fighting snakes and things. You search for the POWs that were left behind. The odds seem insurmountable, but you make it. You pull off a successful mission. Is this a review, by the way? This really isn't much of a review, is it? They had a different concept of reviews back then. Like, this game didn't say... This thing doesn't tell you buy this or don't buy this. It just says, this is in the game, that's in the game. It really didn't say anything about the game at all. It just made it it just said a weird, little artsy... war metaphor thing. You're going to be fighting monsters in the rainforest and there's got to save the POWs, and that's it. That's all it says. From Acclaim, possibly the most inappropriately named video game company that ever existed. Acclaim produced an awful lot of games that didn't deserve any acclaim. Dragon Power. Here we go. The exciting adventure game is based on the classic Chinese story Chi Monkey. Yeah, it was actually based on the popular Japanese animation show Dragon Ball Z. Well, no, sorry, Dragon Ball, just the original Dragon Ball. I guess they didn't want to mention that, or they didn't know. There are lots of kung fu-like movements. You begin deep in the mountains. Nora. Goku and Nora, start their incredible adventure to find 7 crystal balls, And the journey will take them through sultry deserts. I don't think that's what sultry means. Or maybe that desert has just got a particularly... maybe that desert is just a bit too hot for TV. I guess that desert must be showing a bit too much sand for poor Goku to take. Those dunes are just beyond compare. Imagine you've been Imagine you've been given a mission. But then you feel asleep and it's all over. The truck have started to move and you don't know what's going on. Bionic Commando, a cult classic again. City Connection, I've heard of that. there's that guy, looks like a guy. He's given a backward couple of fingers, which means something different in Britain from what America thought. The Carry Warriors 2 Victory Road, a very strange game. Not really strange, but a bit weird. Star Force, Freedom Force, Force, Pack Watch. Oh, is this where Future of Pack? Yeah, this is where they talk about what these games are going to be like. We give you a glimpse into the future with all the hottest news about what's coming next. Okay, it's just talking about future releases. When it said it's going to look at the future of game packs, I thought it meant it's going to talk about how they're going to build these cartridges differently. I was actually wondering what they meant by that. I couldn't think what they'd be talking about. Chesterfield? Chesterfield? Right, okay, looking this up right now. Chesterfield. This is going to be interesting, actually. Maybe we're going to get some games that just never came out. Chesterfield. NES. Well, there's a Japanese game called Chesterfield, with a space in between. Yeah, this exists, it seems. Well, Stone the Crows, Chesterfield exists. It's got some hideous music. What's it look like? Looks pretty bad, is what it looks like. Pay $60 for this, yeah. I never rented games. I didn't believe in renting. Every game I ever had, I bought completely, outright. When I say I bought, I mean it was bought for me. This music. Action RPG. Yeah, well, okay, Chesterfield existed. But it never came out in America, so there's a whole generation of children that read that Nintendo Power magazine and just were left wondering what happened to Chesterfield. General Gemin. Princess. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom TM. They've all got TMs in the title. And there's Gorgo 13, I was talking about him earlier. Every second counts in this fast-action spy story. You are the famous A-spy, Sniper Golgo 13. You are caught in the web of an evil power struggle. A vial of Cassandra DG, a deadly biological warfare weapon with an incredibly stupid name, has been stolen and is about to be unleashed on this suspecting and unsuspecting world. We've seen an advanced copy of this one, and it plays out like any great spy novel, with the main character just saying nothing but dots all the time. Yeah, every time there's a conversation, the main character just says dots. I've never read the James Bond books, I didn't know that was what happened in them. Every time James Bond talks, it's just 10 dots printed. It adds a new twist to it. Maybe you're supposed to fill it in yourself. Maybe that's it. It adds a new twist to NES software. Can she be trusted? Vic Tokai Corporation of America. Terra Cresta. Again, I've not heard of that either. Let's have a look up. Let's look these up and see which ones exist. Terra Cresta. Terra Cresta. Yes, it seemingly does. Yes, it does. Terra Cresta. Never heard of it. Crash Bandicoot remake things. Terra Cresta. Again from Vic Tokai. Was it nothing but Vic Tokai that month? Generic upward scrolling space shooter. Nothing to see here, okay. 1943. Are you ready for the sequel to 1942, 1943? One of those two was really bad, I believe, and the other one was not. And which one of them was not made by Capcom. The one that was bad was probably made by Micronix, who also made Athena and Ghosts and Goblins. Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Got to read this one, and I bet you can probably already guess why. The latest word on Zelda 2 is that it will definitely be available in stores by October. Zelda is waiting for you to awaken her from the sleeping spell that has been cast upon her.
Hang on, Zelda. It won't be long now. Your nightmare will soon be over. I'm so hungry, I could eat an Octorok. Zelda? Are you asleep? Are you not listening to me? Well, excuse me, princess.
Couldn't resist. Jackal. Jackal is a bunch of cars in the deserts. World Games. That looks like some athletics. Robocop. Just like the movie, I'm sure. The NES characters are not quite as statuesque as in the movie. In fact, they look a whole lot friendlier. What an odd thing to say. Lee Trevino's Fighting Golf. Yeah, that was an awesome video games episode about that, that's right. Endorsed by champion golfer Leo Trevino. I mean, Lee Trevino, I've never heard of him. Blaster Master, famous one. Xenophobe. Which means something different now, I think, for them that meant back then. Got to terminate the Xenos. Yeah, the heroes literally are xenophobes. They hate people from Xenos. They hate the aliens in Xenos. This game would take on a whole new political correctness theme now, in this day and age. Empire City, 1931. Gangsters. Platoon, the really bad one, I think. Marble Madness, Simon's Quest. You'll soon be playing the sequel to Konami's Castlevania. You are Simon Belmont, and you thought you had beaten the dreaded Count last time. But alas, he cast an evil spell on you, and the only way to break it is to put him back together again. Oh no! Life Force, California Games. Nintendo Power, Players Poll, over 60. Ah, it's a big competition, I see. Grand prize, 10 games of your choice. That wasn't the best choice. Hopefully your choice of games will be better than the choice of font that Nintendo Power used on that, because that games of your choice does not stand out very well at all on that background of games. The game library of your choice, that's right, 10 hot titles all at once now, that's playing with power. Let's see if we can get a close look at that. Well, I thought I saw Deadly Towers there, but no, it's not. It's Spelunker. The likely inspiration for Spelunky, that game is actually, if you're curious of that. It's not good, but it probably inspired it. Zelda, Bullet Ball, Volleyball. I didn't know there was a volleyball NES game. I thought I'd filled in all my blind spots on old video games over the years, but no, there's still ones I didn't know existed. Volleyball, Pro-Am. Can't really see many of them. I was hoping these would all be terrible games. I was hoping that would all be nothing but Deadly Towers and Action 52 and the Dick Tracy game. Soccer. Oh, when I see these really old, the really early Nintendo Entertainment System boxes, like that volleyball one and the soccer, I get a big nostalgic flash. I remember how excited I got. I remember how exciting and mystical it was, these boxes. It seemed so awesome. I knew I was in for something really good when I was looking at this. 1 of 10. The hottest new game for the NES can be yours if you are a lucky winner. Who's that guy? Super Mario 2. Players Poll. Mario's looking happy on the top left, but he's also looking like he's got his blue cap and all over this. I don't know how they... Using the postcard below, answer these questions to play. In general, how did you like the premiere issue of Nintendo Power? I wonder if anybody that answered 3, I didn't like it, had a chance of winning. I'm guessing that if you didn't answer 1, then that was it. You just failed the contest. I'm guessing. Maybe not, I don't know. Oh no, it just says answer the questions and your name will be entered in our poll. You know, as a child I wondered what the meaning of these sorts of things was. Why did they want you to answer these questions to get in this poll? But now as a crusty world-wise adult now, I could use my smart powers to realise that they're what they'd call incentivizing you to answer these questions that they want answered. They want to collect information on what people felt about the magazine, but because this is before the internet, when they could just tell people to write in the comments and people would actually bother to do it with no reward. Back then, they had to entice the little schmucks to take the trouble of filling in this form and sending it back in a letter, or getting the parents, of course, to send it back in a letter. So they manipulated them into bothering to do it by telling them, hey, you could win some games, so answer these questions for us, please. We want to know how you feel. So that's why they did these competitions. Yeah, thankfully with the internet age, we don't have to do stuff like that now if we want to find out people's opinions. Because they will just go onto the Twitter post and just type a few words saying what they felt about it. If there's one thing we've learned about the internet, it's that internet users certainly are not... They're not closed to revealing their feelings and things. People certainly will not hesitate to express their opinions on a video or on a Facebook post. Certainly far from the case. Do you plan on subscribing? I already have. I'm not interested. How many game packs do you currently own? 1 to 3 or 15 plus? How long have you owned it? A bunch of time? Of these reviews, which 2 reviews did you enjoy the most? Interesting. Wheel of Fortune. I wonder how many kids picked the Wheel of Fortune. Probably quite a few. Please use the list of game titles at the next page to answer these questions. What 2 games would you most like to... Oh, this is where I get fed up. I'm happy answering the multiple choice ones, it's easy, just circle things, but then they start asking me to use my brain. I've been the same way all my life, I don't want to use my brain. When I was a child, whenever we got to the questions like this, the freeform questions, and they're saying think about things and write stuff down, I just groaned because I didn't want to think. I spent most of my life trying to get out of having to think. I just cut corners everywhere. I've been trying to avoid using my brain. I avoid using my brain as much as I possibly can. When I get put into a forced situation where I have to use my brain to do something, I get really annoyed, and I go about it in the most what's the word for it? I go about it in the most... I'm looking for a good word to use to describe this. The most perfunctory manner possible. I put in the least effort to get the jaws done. I'm an employer's worst nightmare. But I get by. Nobody's caught onto my tricks. I've been pulling out tricks since I was a child. I remember, I guess I can finally spill the beans on this. Mrs. X is not gonna... Mrs. Teacher Woman is not going to come hunt me down for this now, but when I was a young child, I remember one of the things I did was that, because I noticed that if I handed in my workbook early, and if we had to do some work on something, if we were filling in a bunch of maths questions and we had to hand the thing to the teacher and she marked them, then what she tended to do was if you gave her the thing, then she'd come back later that day and say, now child, you've got some questions wrong, so you've got to take this book home and write the correct answers. And because I noticed that happened, then what I started doing was I started finishing the thing early, but just sitting there and pretending like I hadn't finished it. Just sat there, just looking at the book and just writing and stuff, and like waiting for the day to end. And then when the bell rang, then I plopped the book on the pile and legged it, because I didn't want to have to take homework home. You don't want homework, so it doesn't matter if it's easy. You don't want that burden on your day. That's what I did for a long time. A lot of stuff I did as a child probably made the teachers think I was stupid, because I was doing stuff taking longer to finish things and stuff, just to try and avoid doing further things with the things. And that extremely negative attitude that goes against everything that the system tries to teach you, is very much one that I've carried with me my entire life. And that is how I've become the successful man I am today. So, stay in school, kids. Well, no, don't do that, actually. What 2 games would you most like to see reviewed in a future issue? How are the kids supposed to know? Well, I think they're talking about the big reviews that cover 3 pages. They gave all of these future games that are coming out on that last page, and now the kids have asked which of those games do they want a big special on. What 3 games are you planning to purchase next? Please indicate in order of preference your 5 favourites. Answer to the poll. Jeremy Salsman. Jeremy Salsman? Is that the name written there? Salsman? Telephone. 612 in brackets. RR2 box. 527. New Prague. MN 13. Oh, you're fairly old for this magazine's demographic, Jeremy. I thought this was for like 8-year-olds. 13. Fun Club membership. A little bunch of grey lines patterned around in patterns. I don't know what that even... What were you even supposed to... Oh, yes. Does that say yes? I am a member of the Fun Club. Join the Fun Club today, Jeremy. As little Max... What's his face? Doc Lewis. As Doc Lewis would say, join the Fun Club today. I think he still says that in the Wii remake of Punch-Out. The Nintendo Fun Club is such a cheesy, childish name for something. It's great. I remember when these clubs were exciting back when I was a child. All these magazines had a club back then. Be a part of the club, fill in this form and sign up and you'll be a club. And I thought, oh wow, I'm part of the Beano Club. Wow, yeah, I've got my Dennis the Menace badge. A cheap little Dennis the Menace boggly eye badge. You feel like you're part of an elite little group when really you're just part of a document somewhere in the magazine's headquarters of just a list of names they've got. And if you're on that list, then they'll send you an extra letter once every 5 months that no one else gets. It's really not that exciting. You're just part of an abstraction. Oh well. Please indicate your answer in the appropriate box that corresponds to the survey above. It's great. Oh, let's see what Jeremy thinks. All the best things, I assume. Yes, he subscribed to the magazine. That was the answer to the second question. He's only got 1 to 3 games though. He's only had the NES for 0 to 6 mows, so that's alright. Would it have killed you to write months? You think that the 2-year-olds know that mows is short for months? That did bother me when adults do stuff like that in magazines for children. When stuff for children aren't familiar with these abbreviations and things. Don't do stuff like that. At least define your terms when you use them. Indicate numbers. Use this list to answer the questions. Oh, that's a list of all of the games. That's interesting. 87 games existed, it seems. Getting a bit frustrated at seeing all these blue-capped Marios. They're just so in your face about it. They're not ashamed of this at all. Place stamp here. Anyone can win.
Anyone can win, Nestor. Send in your entry today.
I'll send mine tomorrow.
Nestor is me. Classic. Well, actually, I was talking about how I was always sat on top of work and pretended that I wasn't finished and waited as long as possible to hand it in. But ironically, I wasn't a procrastinator. That's one thing I certainly never was. If I was given work to do, I wanted it done as fast as possible, and I went and did it as fast as possible. I was not the sort of kid that realised 10 minutes before class that I've got a homework assignment I've not done, and that I've got to do it. I was never that child. If I had homework to do, I took it home and did it immediately. The first thing I did. Got it all finished as soon as possible. On a Friday, if they'd given us 5 pieces of homework to do over the weekend, I'd get all of it done on the Friday. And then have the weekend completely free. That was my attitude to life. So Nestor was not mine. I was not Nestor. I've become Nestor now. My old age has turned me into a procrastinator. Mainly because I just can't be bothered to do anything at all anymore. But I wasn't that way as a child. Contest. Winners. You could win one of these great prizes. Well, that's not true, actually. I still have that. I still very much have that tendency to get stuff done as fast as possible, and then sit on it. And pretend it's not done for a while. Yeah, you know what, actually, I'm being honest here. Don't tell anyone, folks, but I actually... That little trick of mine from primary school, I still use to this day, in fact, in my day-to-day working life. That's actually what I legitimately do. Get stuff done as fast as possible. And because I'm able to do good... Not to brag, but because I'm able to do complex things easily and quickly, I just pretend it's not done yet for a while. And I get to not do anything for a while. And I'm being sincere when I say that. I'm available for interviews anytime, employers. Winners, you could win one of these great prizes. One of 50 exclusive Nintendo Power Frumpy jerseys.
Check me out, man. I'm cool. Don't I look cool with this Nintendo Power Frumpy jersey?
You can't buy them in a store, yeah, because no respectable clothing shop would be seen dead selling this. The only way to get one of these fantastic shirts... Out of all of the countless quotation marks that have been put around words in this magazine. The word fantastic there needed one the most of all. The only way to get one of these fantastic shirts is to win one. Official rules, no purchase necessary. You know, this is another thing that's... Competitions have really bit the dust, haven't they? You don't get competitions like this anymore. Get one of this. Get this exclusive shirt. Well, maybe you do, but like, in the internet age, if you want to get like an exclusive... If you wanted to get like a t-shirt with Mario on it, there's a billion fans that are making those things and selling them on the internet, like for everybody. There's nothing exclusive. There's nothing exclusive about this now. There's nothing exclusive about these sorts of things now. Anybody now could just I could probably go to Google image search, find a Nintendo Power logo, plaster it on a digital copy of a shirt, and then send it off to some organisation, and they would print the thing for me.
The official rules of this competition.
Winners will be selected at random. No. I think so. This time it was simply just to. This time it was just to. You just send. Yeah, you fill in the player's pool response card. Or is this part of the same competition as the one above? I don't quite know, actually. Whatever. Either way, that prize is not worth it. It's not worth the $60 you probably had to spend on the packaging or whatever. You probably had to use a special stamp that cost $5. You probably had to deliver it in a special mailbox that cost $5. There must have been something that cost money involved here. Why are into NES Journal? Why are into the NES pipeline and what's happening? NES pipeline and what's happening around the world. World news. That's a Chinese dragon. It's not racist at all, is it, the 80s? Dragon Quest III, the RPG released in February, is the talk of Japan today. Players from all over the country are so crazy about the game. I'm kind of surprised they're doing an article on Dragon Quest, actually. Players from all over the country are so crazy about this game that a representative of its creator, Alex, proclaims... I could do a racist Japanese accent, but I'm not going to. Well, let's do Irene. We expect total sales of 6 million! Ninjas and Kung Fu masters are no longer heroes to Japanese players, since they are now being replaced by warriors and sorcerers, who bravely confront dragons with their swords and shields. Even though, there is a Kung Fu fighter class in this game. Don't think there's a ninja, though. Although Final Fantasy had one, whatever. A story players can relate to. What? What does that mean? A story players can relate to. Well, it's about a boy. Well, let's see. Dragon Quest III is about a boy whose father went and tried to be a hero but got slammed, and now he's the hero in his place. It's got to go off and do the good things. I don't quite know what they mean about that, but okay. Graphics of fine quality, great sounds, programming, techniques capable of combining these into one single game. That was meaningless. Techniques that combine good graphics, sounds and programming into one game. What on earth is that supposed to mean? These are the secret ingredients that make this a masterpiece. Rather odd to find American-born sword and magic games making one great hit after another in the eastern country of Japan. What on earth are you talking about? American-born... What? They're trying to claim ownership of this? But because Dungeons and Dragons came from America, I think they're trying to say, then the whole Dragon Quest series is basically... It might as well be American, I think was what they're trying to say there. That's a bit self-imposing there. That's a bit of a stretch, I think. Anyway, it will be quite interesting to see the reaction of the US market. Yeah, well, I think it did well. I mean, yeah, it's a classic. Players Forum, Vindicators, smoking up the charts of hot new arcade games. That's the 50-year-old writer trying to sound cool and whiff it. Smoking up the charts of hot new arcade games this summer is a futuristic tank warfare adventure game called Vindicators, which I've never heard of. As team commander of SR-88, Strategic battle tanks, that's interesting. Put a 3 in there and you'd have SR-388, the planet that Metroid 2 happens on. Curious there. Strategic battle tanks, you use throttle controls with thumb and trigger buttons to steer and command an arsenal. Players can select their starting point and are rewarded with a catch of stars. For accepting a great challenge, the game even comes with a built-in contest feature that allows players to win a free Vindicators t-shirt. In US market only, except where prohibited by law. Wait, what on earth? You can win a free t-shirt, except in places where it's illegal to win free t-shirts. I think that's what that said. What on earth? Little boy enters the competition and shouts, "Mommy, Mommy, I won my Vindicators t-shirt!" And Mommy does the Macaulay Culkin face of sheer shock. Says, "No, little Charlie!" And the police bash down the front door immediately. In their sunglasses and truncheons saying, "Book 'em, boys."
Which one of you entered the Vindicators free t-shirt competition?
The mother throws herself up in front of her son to try and take the blame. "It was me!"
A likely story, woman. Get out of our way.
Also, I like this cartoon man that's just there for no reason. Why is he there? What's he doing? He's not holding the controls. He's not even looking at the game. He's just there. The official Nintendo Player's Guide. What's this? A powerful reading. Again with the word power. Now you can play to win with that. It's packed with things. Order it. Pay money to buy this. While supplies last. And a Zelda book too. Had an entire book just for that one game. That's how badly it needed it. Events. Konami awards the Top Gun title. 4 finalists launched their mighty fighters to try desperately to land the plane at the end of the level and get the Top Gun title in the finale to Konami's Top Gun video game shootout contest. That's not too many words at all, Konami. That's not too many words for your title, Konami. Konami's Top Gun video game shootout contest. When the dust cleared and everybody crashed the plane when they tried to land it. Judges tallied up the scores when the dust cleared. When the dust cleared from the plane crashes that happened when everybody tried to land the plane at the end of the level. Judges tallied up the scores and awarded Devin Devil White, that's a good name, of Minneapolis MN the Top Gun title. After they realised that after they spent 20 hours all trying to finish the first level but none of them could land the plane, they just gave up and said, "Right, Devin, you win." And he wins $5,000, which is actually a lot of money. For 1988 especially, that would be $20,000 now. Well, at least $10,000 now. That's a pretty big prize for playing this little dinky NES game. Giving the thumbs up signal. It's so weird how, like, thumbs ups must have been so new back then that they had to put it in capitals and quotation marks. The thumbs up signal. Also, it's also scientific, isn't it? They're so delicate around this frightening new term the kids are all using. Mr. Yamaguchi, I think I've heard that name. I think I might know him. Head of Konami. And all these people in Emil Heidkamp. Yeah. NES Journal. NES Journal. Okay, vibes. Cyndi Lauper, the high-energy rock singer who proved girls are not the only ones who want to have fun. Wait. What? I thought that the entire point of her song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, was very much trying to prove the point that was not trying to prove the point that girls aren't the only ones who want to have fun. I thought her famous song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, was about how girls just want to have fun, and it was not actually about people other than girls wanting to have fun. But somehow she proved that girls are not the only ones who want to have fun. Is finally bringing her magic to the motion picture screen in Vibes, which I've never heard of, and I'm pretty confident there's a good reason I've never heard of it. The romantic comedy adventure features Cyndi Lauper and Jeff Goldblum from The Fly as two mismatched psychics who are brought together by an incompetent but eager entrepreneur played by Peter Falk Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was garbage. Soon the three find themselves in a wild adventure in the mountains of Ecuador for some reason. Because that's the only set that would take them. It also stars Julian Sands of Gothic and Siesta. Two other movies I've never heard of. Goggy Gress, and that's a real person's name. And is executive produced by Ron Howard, director of Cocoon and This Summer's Fantasy Willow. I've heard of Willow, that got a game. Lauper had a brush with the movies 3 years ago when she recorded the title song for The Goonies. Vibes' producers no doubt hope their film will successfully bring Lauper's bubbly energy to the screen so that they can create good vibrations of their own at the box office. Well, prediction, they didn't do that. Pee-wee's Big Top. Pee-wee is back in a comedy adventure, Big Top Pee-wee. I've heard of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I've not heard of Big Top Pee-wee. This time around, Pee-wee portrays an enterprising young farmer who enjoys life. Okay, not the kind of role I was expecting. Love of Winnie, the local school teacher. But everything is soon turned upside down when a travelling circus comes to town, featuring Gina. Pee-wee falls in love with her instead of the teacher woman, which is just as well because that was a bit creepy, really. And Pee-wee on his adventures, Chris Christopherson. A Star is Born, something like as the dashing Mace Montana. You know, when the fake movie name sounds less stupid than the real name, you've got problems. Mace Montana is Chris Christopherson as Winnie. Valeria Golino as Gina, and Vance the pig as Pee-wee's ever faithful sidekick. The pig's got a name. Vance is no doubt the reason Pee-wee has described his new film as not only a sexy love story, but also a buddy picture. Well, I didn't expect to hear Pee-wee talking about sexy love stories, but I suppose that is what he was watching that day when he lost his Pez dispenser. When his career came to a unfortunate end. Well, Vance the pig. Well, at least we know what happened. Well, I've not heard of most of these celebrities, but at least we know what happened to Vance. Well, at least Vance the pig had a successful career many years later as the main character of a long RPG, as one of the longest RPG Maker 2000 games ever made. Free the hard way. So he did well for himself. 8 men out. From the start, baseball was our national passion. Well, I'm already turned off at that first sentence, but let's keep going. You should never judge things, folks. Says screenwriter/director John Sayles in his new movie 8 Men Out. Sayles tries to show this passion amid one of the most dramatic scandals in baseball's history. The setting is the 1919 World Series. I'm sure that all the Americans I'm sure all the Americans watching this already know what the scandal is, but like just saying 1999 World Series scandal, they probably instantly know everything, but I don't have a clue what this is going to be, so I'm looking forward to seeing if it tells me. Where the team most favoured to win, the Chicago White Sox with an X, in fact lost because a majority of the team's players conspired with gamblers to throw the series. The players had legitimate grievances against their notoriously cheap manager, but their actions were viewed as a betrayal of the public's trust. 8 men were banned from playing baseball. Wow, this sounds heavy. This sounds like... this sounds pretty bad. This sounds fairly... players getting bribed to throw games. I've heard of that sort of thing before. It doesn't shock me tremendously to learn that happened once. Especially if they were getting, terrible management and, getting messed about and just having a miserable time. But it looks like... I'm guessing from the talk about betrayal, I'm guessing that they just got absolutely... They got treated like Adolf Hitlers by the public and probably died miserable, penniless lives as, the subject of hatred of everybody. I'm going to take a guess that that's what probably happened in 1919 especially. I doubt there was any sympathy for them. I imagine this is probably talking completely out of no basis whatsoever to say any of this. I'm guessing that was a very sad and tragic story for these baseballers, who probably were indeed getting shafted tremendously by their manager. Anyway, right, enough. Just a wild speculation. So they got banned. 8 Men Out features Charlie Sheen. Charlie Bloomin' Sheen! How far back does his career go? I thought this person didn't... First I thought he thought he started with 2.5 Men. Then I did the... What was it? Then I did the Family Guide to the Internet video commentary, and I happened to freeze frame at the right moment to spot his name on a list of movies that had come out in 1998 or so. So I knew he was around then, and now I'm finding out that he was around in 1988. How old is he? Charlie Sheen. Now, I mean, he was old enough, obviously, to be playing a male baseballer and a soldier. So he must have been like at least 18 at this point. Probably older. John Cusack in Stand By Me, D.B. Sweeney, Gardens of Stone. That's a good name for a movie. Don't know what it is. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd was this, and is based on the book by Elliot Asinoff. This is the second film on baseball this year, following the heels of last month's Bull Durham, starring Kevin Costner. I've never heard of Bull Durham. I'm guessing that these baseball movies never get out of America, because I've never heard of any of them. And it doesn't mean anything that I've never heard of a movie, but I'm guessing they didn't show these in Britain. I'm guessing Britain didn't get Angels in the Outfield and all of that other stuff. Blackbeard's Ghost. Celebrity profile, Kirk and Candace Cameron. Kirk Cameron. Where have I heard that name? I know that name. These two celebrity siblings pop up on your TV. Wait, why are they even talking about this? I only just realised after reading that entire first page that none of this had anything to do with Nintendo. Nothing whatsoever. Just nothing. Nothing. Nintendo Power. I've heard of network decay. They talk about network decay, where a TV channel like Cartoon Network, say, it's telling that that's the first example I go to. But Cartoon Network, MTV is a more famous example. A channel that starts out dedicated to something like music or cartoons. Give them 20 years and they're showing Taiwanese pornography and boot construction technique, and like documentaries about how Africans, and documentaries about how Chileans cobble boots and stuff. But it looks like Nintendo Power was already jumping the shark from the first issue. They decided, hey, let's have why don't we have a section talking about the latest upcoming Hollywood movies in our Nintendo magazine? Sounds like a good idea. These two celebrity siblings pop up on your TV screen more often than Mario and Luigi. I don't think Mario and Luigi were popping up on the TV screens of anybody that had taste in the 80s. But of course that was nobody, so they were all over the place. Kirk and Candace Cameron. Is Candace Cameron Kirk Cameron's sister? Because I've never heard of her. But I've certainly heard of Kirk Cameron's name. So I think Candace might have possibly not made it so good. They appear weekly on two of the most popular shows, Growing Pains and Full House. I've heard of Full House. It's supposed to be terrible. I've never heard of Growing Pains, so that must be even more terrible. Television audiences across the US know 17-year-old Kirk Cameron as Mike Seaver in the hit comedy This. What most don't know is that he's a Nintendo fan. Oh, finally, it's something to do with Nintendo. It's about time, guys. Popular young actor is busy acting, but he still somehow manages to find the time to play video games. And his parents enjoy the most boring games possible, of course. His friends and 3 sisters. Wow. Candace Cameron plays DJ on the ABC. Oh, yeah, it's Full House. Punchline, Candace says she has rescued the Mushroom Princess in Super Mario Bros. Many times, but she has yet to rescue Zelda. Yeah, I don't blame her for that. Although she has spent numerous hours attempting to do so. Kirk, on the other hand, has different obstacles to overcome. I am having problems getting past the Arnoeboids, meatballs with arms in Gradius. Arnoeboids, meatballs with arms in Gradius, explains Kirk. I think that I'll have to place a call to the game counselor soon. Hello, this is the Nintendo hotline. How can I help you? I'm trying to get past the meatballs with arms in Gradius. I mean, in fairness, it wouldn't be any clearer if he said, I'm trying to get past the Arnoeboids. You'd have a hard time explaining that either way. According to Kirk, I remember calling in, I used to call a Nintendo hotline. More often I got my dad to do it, because I was too shy even then. But there was sometimes I did it myself. I remember one time in particular, I was stuck in a game called Equinox, which you've not heard of on the SNES, and I didn't know where to go, and this was the first dungeon. I was stuck in the first dungeon, and it was something really simple I needed to do, but the guy told me what I needed to do, and I just remember not believing him. I remember saying, no, that's not true, you're lying. I remember feeling really indignant at the time, but looking back, I can't remember what he said to do and why I was telling him that I'd already tried it and it didn't work. But I'm sure that I must have been acting like a stupid little child. I'm sure that I must have just been just throwing a irrational tantrum. I recall the room that I was in at the time. I thought he was telling me there was a secret place in that room, and I couldn't find one. And I remember the room I was thinking of, and yeah, I couldn't find a secret place in that room. I remember the room that I'm thinking of, and yeah, there was no secret place in that room. So he must have been talking about a different room, but I was convinced it was that one. Anyway, I got stuck in the third dungeon of Equinox, and I became convinced that there was a glitch in the game that was stopping me from completing it. I became convinced there was a glitch in the game that stopped me from finishing it. That was back when I believed that a particular cartridge of the game could have a glitch that none of the rest of them had. I thought that my copy of the game had a glitch that stopped me from finishing the level, like as if that's something that happens. Because it's similar. There was a thing in the Game Boy Zelda, Link's Awakening. There's this glitch which I've finally discovered many years later, that I encountered, where I don't know what triggers it exactly, but basically you got to do some things and then walk into the little house in the starting village, in Maybe Village. You walk into the room with the dog, the chain chomp, that's owned by that woman, and if you do things right, then you end up transported into this weird glitch world. And that happened to me, and I was freaking out at that. I was terrified, and I thought the game's glitched beyond recognition. Nowadays they'd say that the cartridge is haunted, because there's this idea about haunted game cartridges now, which I think I would have laughed at that even back then. I think I would have laughed at that idea even. I think I would have laughed at that idea even back then, but I was still freaked out by this, and I thought that my game had this special glitch that I couldn't play it again because of that. So I actually went back to the shop and got it replaced with another cartridge. And I do wonder what the guy thought. Did he know? The guy at the counter, was he just thinking, ugh, stupid kid, just give him another cartridge to shut him up? Because that doesn't happen. If you get a broken game, then it's going to mean that when you turn it on, nothing happens at all. It doesn't mean that one of the walls in the third dungeon is walkthrough. That's not how games work. You don't just there's not a little chip in the side of the cartridge so one of the levels has 2 more enemies than it's supposed to have. Anyway, that was a big tangent. Unfortunately, she can't play because she's too busy working. I play a lot at home though. Oh wait, I've skipped a bunch of stuff. According to Kirk, many of his friends play NES as well. In fact, they share many of their game packs. And at the time of this interview, he had a friend over at his house trying his hand at Super Mario Bros. Kirk, who said he's rescued the princess a million times, had a word of advice or two for his friend on how to succeed. A few of their current favourites include Rygar. Some people like it, some people don't. Super Mario Bros., Legend of Zelda, Gradius and Pinball. An active spokesperson for Nancy Reagan's Just Say No anti-drug campaign. Kirk also finds time between his acting and video game adventures to enjoy racquetball. I've heard of that, but I've no idea. I've got a vague acquaintance with that word. I don't know what it is though. Working out at the gym and spending time at the beach with his friends, doing decidedly non-video game activities. Fans should look for him in an as-of-yet untitled movie, co-starring Roy Schneider and Jamie Gertz. I wonder what that was, I don't know. Candace enjoys playing the piano and spending time with her friends. In addition to Punchline and Full House, she can be seen in an upcoming movie of the week called I Saw What She Did. Never heard of that. Movie of the week? What's that? Movie of the week? Mailbox. Ah, the actual letters we're going to see. We're going to get to read the letters that readers read in. I've read that Howard Phillips has close to 300 games for the NES. I would like to know if it is possible for you to send me some of the names of the games he has. Also, are they ever going to be made available for the public? Oh, I almost forgot. Could you tell me the exact name of the theme song of Spy Hunter? What? What? Be patient, there are already over 100 games available for the NES. The best of what Howard reviews will surely make it to the stores. Okay, so Howard Phillips had all these tons of games that hadn't been released, and might never even be released. That's interesting. Wonder what stories these guys have to tell, huh? Did they get sent prototypes of video games from like no-name people that just sent in a game they made, and then Howard just rejected it on the spot, and so nobody has ever seen this game but Howard? Is that something that happened? It's kind of interesting. I mean, I guess, I suppose anybody could make a video game. Like, anybody could program a NES game, I suppose, if they had the ability and the skill and stuff, and the resources. So, like, some person working somewhere, like, some guy that lives in some house somewhere might have made a Nintendo game, put it on a cartridge and sent it to Nintendo. And Nintendo playtested it and just shoved it in the bin immediately, and the world would never know it existed. I wonder if that happens. Is there like NES games like that have just been, that really are completely lost to history? That's interesting to me. Anyway, the music from Spy Hunter is the theme from Peter Gunn. You're answering like a question with a question there, basically. Like, what is the theme from Peter Gunn? Like, or better yet, what is the name of the theme song from Peter Gunn? Yeah, look at that. Tell me the exact name of the theme song of Spy Hunter. The exact name is the same. Well, the theme is the same as the theme from Peter Gunn. That's not telling him what the name of the theme song is. KG Player.
Dear Nintendo, if you're like I am, that is crazy about martial arts, The Legend of Cage is the game for you. I don't see how they get all this fun and adventure on one game pack. In the game, you are Cage, a young ninja warrior with one dangerous task: to save the Shogun's daughter, Princess Kiri, from the clutches of the evil warlord Yuki.
I remember playing this game on an old bootleg 52-in-1 sort of cartridge. And I thought that like the princess they're talking about, for some reason I thought it was a blind monk. I thought it was a blind old monk. Just some blind old monk man. Like a Buddhist monk or something that he was trying to save. I don't know why. I don't know why it would have been that, but that's what I thought.
On your journey, you will encounter evil ninjas, fire-breathing monks, and even Yuki's right-hand man, Yoshi.
Yoshi, keep running!
So that's what the conflict in this game is. Cage and Yoshi just can't settle on which one gets the barbecue mammoth rib.
You are armed with two weapons, your ninja sword and a limitless supply of star knives that can be so hurled at your opponents like stones. If you wish to be reunited with your beloved Kiri, you must prevail. Sound fun? Think you have what it takes? Purchase The Legend of Cage, a game which you will treasure.
What was that? That was someone just wrote a letter to gush about their favourite game. That guy was basically an Undertale fan from 1988. He just wrote a letter just to spout off about how much he loves this game, which isn't even a good game. Legend of Cage. I've been seeing so many references to princesses needing saved that I realise how people talk about how that was such a stock plot back then. There was just so many princesses needing to get rescued. That just happened so much. Go, Grandma!
Our grandson, Chad McElroy, 7 years, received a Nintendo system and games from Santa this year. They were visiting our farm, and therefore we got a good preview of this game. He decided to leave his NES at the farm NES at the farm for the time being, and so each Friday he and I have been playing. We have played Super Mario Brothers 1942, Commando, and Kung Fu, but while Chad is home, I am left with the NES. I have been practicing, and I think that you will be surprised that I am getting very close to at least seeing the hostages before I bite the dust in commando. Dad decided to take the LES home so that he and his friends could play. I told my husband that we must get another system for Chad when he comes to the farm on Fridays. After searching the Dallas area, I found one. I have it installed, and now we have one at the farm and one in the city. The story must be somewhat boring to you, but considering that Chad is 7 and I am 55, it shows your market potential.
A market potential that Nintendo never really tried to tap until the Wii. Really, they never really tried to target their games at anybody over the age of 20 until the Wii came along, and suddenly, bam, it's all about families. Every single advert every single official Nintendo advert, without fail, will feature people of all ages. Will feature a family, a boy and a girl, and a mother and a husband, and often the grandparents too. They just don't fail to show the full gamut of ages now. But yeah, this grandma was about the only person that... People like this grandma really didn't get much attention from the adverts and stuff. But I guess the grandma does prove that they were out there playing these games. There were older people playing games even then. 55 is quite young for a grandmother. Maybe not so much these days. Wait, no, yeah, more these days actually. People are having... It was back then that people had children young. It was back then that people had children younger, yeah. Now they wait till they're older. Thanks for writing. We think... Oh, nobody had responded to the previous letters. Wait, sorry. Yeah, nobody... There was no reply to that KG player there. He just got... The KG player just wrote that letter of praise, and that was it. Nothing to be said of it. But Grandma gets a response. Thanks for writing. We think you're right. The NES is fun for kids of all ages. We wish we heard from more players in your age group. We know you're out there. A shared idea.
Dear Nintendo, my friends and I have a club called the Videoisms.
That's a terrible name.
Here are a few suggestions for other clubs. Try saving up weekly for a new tape every month. So far, our club has 13 tapes. In our club, we save a few dollars a week for extra money to call the Nintendo hotline.
Wow, you save money to call the Nintendo hotline. I mean, it did cost money, but it's funny to think of saving up money to call that.
A friendly game counselor kindly helps us out when we have trouble on something.
The Videoizers. Great idea, thanks for sharing it with us. That's the 1980s version of Cool Story, bro. That's what that is. Point of view.
Dear Nintendo, the game Rygar has some of the best graphics Nintendo has ever used. Besides this, the music and character interaction in this game are superb. The music is very appealing to the player and does not make he/she bored after lengthy play. To give a better sense of action in the game, the characters are animalized and have special, unique ways of moving around. There is also a wide variety of creatures so you don't get tired of the same ones over and over again. Another very good point to mention are the different views in which Rygar, the main character, is shown. The two views used are the horizontal view and the view of looking down from the helicopter. Usually a game has only one view of the character, but Rygar shows the intensity of combination. In conclusion, Rygar to me is one of the better graphic games put out for the NES, and I would recommend it to anyone longing for action and adventure.
Another recommendation.
It's not easy.
Metroid has got to be one of the best games ever, at least the most challenging. Anyone who plays the game cannot say it's easy. You really have to use your mind for this game. The things that make this game so popular are the graphics, sound, and challenge, and enemies. The enemies? Sooner or later, you will figure out the secret passageways. There are a lot. You must go back and read the instructions. You must go back and read the enclosed instruction book to get more clues. If you don't want to get lost in this planet, you must make maps. Another great thing is that you do not get many free weapons. You have to earn them. It is not easy to find them all. There are a lot of secrets. If you have this game or are going to get it, you will enjoy it for a long, long time. Keep making more games like this.
A lot of players share your sentiments about Metroid. There are many secrets yet to be discovered, so if you find any new ones, be sure to let us know about them. Double dribble is super awesome. Don't know what that is. Just set a time per quarter, skill level in sports, hot, sports, basketball, defences, rebounds, don't know what these things are. Switching, block shots, rim rockin' slam dunks, and 3-point shots. Big blast, cheers, shoot a desperation shot, and background cheers. The background cheer will make you hang from your seat. It might make you want to hang from something. I would not trade this game for anything. It's my #1 game. If this game was more realistic, you would be playing in the NBA. This game is improved by basketball skills. Honest, if you have the means, I recommend picking one up. My friend has recently bought your basic set. In doing so, he acquired the official Nintendo Player's Guide. If it is possible, may I request one? You can buy it at many of your favourite NES retailers, or order by credit card for that. Letters. I remember wondering as a child. I once tried writing into a magazine, writing a tip about the Ocarina of Time, and it never got printed, and I was very disappointed at that, but I was so insecure. I remember being afraid of writing a question that wasn't phrased well enough for them. I remember wondering if they would print my thing the exact way that I wrote it. And I was uncomfortable I was afraid of not writing it in the correct standard for them. But you know what, I suspect that they just took the letters and just rewrote them the way they wanted them to read, or something like that. They must have fixed the grammar at the very least. Because I doubt most of these letters from 10-year-olds were read as well as they do here. NES Achievers. Here are the hottest Nintendo game scores. Ah yeah, the high score oh, I just remembered this actually. Wait, do I remember it? No, I don't. Do I? Reading this just reminded me, there was something like this, I think, in the NOM. The UK Nintendo magazine. They had some chart at the start of it. I think it was just like the top 100 scoring games of the month or something, actually. I think they had a chart of all of the best games of all time for the console. The current console. They kept this chart there. Not high scores. I think they might have had a high score thing at some point, but either way, this is just take a screenshot of this screen and stick it on the wall and put a giant poster above it saying 1980s. And bam, that's the 80s there. Something that wouldn't exist past the 80s. Duck Hunt, 970,000. Look at that, Castlevania, 999,999. Somebody maximised the score. Quite clearly. I wonder if you had to play it like 1,000 times to do that. Also that they could get a number to appear in a table in some bi-monthly magazine with their name beside it, which nobody would ever even read. I like how Kid Icarus has the top score tied 6 ways at 9,999,999. Mega Man? Oh brother, someone got the maximum score in Mega Man as well. It's quite sad in some ways, but actually it's not. I would have been happy to do that. I would have been happy to sit there for 60 hours doing that if I'd get into this pink table. The pink table that you can hardly even read the titles of the games because they're in almost the same pink font. Actually, back then, all the boys probably would have been terrified of writing into this in case they got put in the pink table, the girly table, instead of the blue one. I should be reading the names and seeing if any interesting names pop up, like maybe Donald Trump's in here, like maybe Justin Bieber's in here. Justin Bieber's father. It's quite possible Justin Bieber's father is in this, but I'm not going to try to find out. Take your best shot. Do you ever wonder how you stack up against other players? Well, then find out with the high scores. Take a screenshot with your camera, and yeah, fail to do it correctly. I'm sure that it was just. I'm sure that everyone failed. Find out what a true video wizard looks like. Who on earth is this man? And why is he here? What's he got to do with anything? He's just there. Video spotlight. Power players. Oh yikes, that's frightening. I really just want to skip to the end now, but I can't slack out now. Got to read out all these letters. Where are we? Where is it? What are we at? Where? Video spotlight. Events with readers. The spotlight's on you! These players wrote in to tell us about their video prowess. We think you'll agree they all qualify as power players. You've not provided us with any criteria for what constitutes a power player. So I don't know. I have no internal metric by which to measure the powerness of a power player. But I'm going to trust Nintendo Power that they are indeed power players. All these writers are power players. They're played with power, just like the guy from The Wizard with his power glove. I've forgotten his name. The cool kid that exhibits his coolness by putting a stupid-looking glove on his hand and driving a fictional car on a television screen. That is what you had to do to be cool in the 80s. Nowadays, if you want to be cool, all you got to do is what do you have to do to be cool? Well, I guess I still don't know. Yeah, I didn't know. I'd never really known what made somebody cool, or what didn't. So I don't know what you got to do to be cool now, but it's a safe bet that I wouldn't be able to do it, whatever it is. Well, anyway, let's move on to the first letter. Our club is called the NES Masters. We know right off who our power player is. His name is Ace Ebb. He writes to Nintendo all the time, telling them his accomplishments on games. His hobbies are playing Nintendo games, period. He has no pets. Instead, he plays Nintendo all day. You've either got a pet or you play Nintendo all day. That's the dichotomy here, it seems. Nothing else you could be doing besides playing video games, other than owning pets. He beat Metroid in 3 days, Tyson in 5. I find this very hard to believe. Well, maybe not. Saved Zelda in 5 and finished Super Mario Brothers in 5. Okay, you kidding me? You beat Metroid faster than Super Mario Brothers? I'm not believing any of this. The NES Masters from Chicago. I'm calling you out 30 years later. You're lying. This is lies. You're telling porkies. Ace Ebb indeed. Look at him. Look at the little snot. Who does he think he is standing there with his gangster pose? His gangster rap pose. I thought they didn't invent that until the 2006 or something. There he is doing that shoulder arm move beside each other. Head dip. Cobble motion. The swinging chandelier chair in your back garden thing. You know what I mean. Of the many people in our Nintendo playing group, I chose Mike Wetch. He was the first person I know to beat Mike Tyson. He was also the first person to beat the Great Puma. He was the first person to get to the end of Russian Attack. And he was the first person to beat the level 3 team on Double Dribble. He only owns, or has owned, one of the games mentioned. Some of the tips he told us about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! 2 exclamation marks were: be ready to dodge Tyson's uppercuts for the first minute and 30 seconds in the first round, and in the second round when Tyson's eyes flash red, he'll try to hit you. Move! And hit him in the face and he'll get knocked down. The reason he was so good at pro wrestling was because he played track and field a lot, and he always pressed the B and B buttons really fast in real life in order to win track and field. What on earth? The reason he was good at pro wrestling... The Pro Les Ring, that actually is a game, don't look it up, was because he played track and field a lot and he always pressed the A and B buttons fast enough to beat the Puma. His tip on Double Dribble was practice makes perfect. That's a great tip. That's a fantastic tip, Mike. You'll make a real, true video game coach one day. And I'm saying that as a joke, but there actually is a thing called esports now. Video games have literally become a sport at this point, so I guess Mike was ahead of the curve with his meaningless advice. upturning the practice makes perfect indeed. Mike lives in a family of 4. He has a kit named Kitty. Good, Mike. He loves to play Nintendo. He loves to play Nintendo, and his favourite games are Renegade, Double Dribble, and I think Zybots, he really is indeed a power player. In your 1988 Feb Mar edition, you asked for... Wait a minute, I thought this was the first issue. What? 1988 Feb Mar edition? This is supposed to be the first issue of this thing. This must have been that they must be talking about the Nintendo Fun Club, which did exist before Nintendo Power existed. It must be that. In your 1988 Feb Mar edition, you asked for some power players. I think I'm the very good player. My best friend is my best game is Super Mario Brothers. On my best game, I had 160 extra men for 100,100,000 points for Time Warp. My fastest game about warping and saving the princess was 10 minutes and 23 seconds. I believe I have found every single surprise in the game. That's hidden. I have saved the princess 4 times in one game without losing more than 2 men. I have always never been beaten. I don't think I'm even not sure that there's a better player at Super Mario Brothers than I am. I just hope that somebody I find a better player because I always like a good challenge. Hang on a second. You've never been beaten? What does that mean? You mean that you've never had a player 2 that finished the game before you when you were both playing the game? Because in Super Mario Brothers 1, the second player only gets to play after you die, or whatever. 10 minutes and 23 seconds. I think the world record's something like 4 minutes now, so... I mean, there's still... 10 minutes is a respectable time, though, in 1988. That's a pretty good time, I'd say. That's not bad, considering it's taken 30 years of 27-year-old grown men that do nothing, that just sit in their basement all day trying to be fast at Super Mario Brothers. Considering it's taken them literally decades to get the time to about half that, I'd say that young Trey has done a decent job.
The power player where we live is a fellow by the name of Kevin Stevens. He can break all the records. He has solved Super Mario Bros. In 2 weeks, The Legend of Zelda in 1 week and 5 days, Metroid in 3 weeks, Kid Icarus in 1 weekend, Renegade in 1 weekend, Top Gun in 1 month, and Mega Man and Ryko in less than 4 days. He is looking forward to your new game packs, Contra, Gauntlet, Echo Warriors, Super Mario Bros. 2, and Golden Double Dragon. He is an official member of the Nintendo Fun Club, and his favourite game is Echo Warriors because of teamwork and organisation. What do you mean, catch the ball? You were the ball!
And he just says nothing and moves his finger out, and it ends.
He says he's played Sega.
Sega? Mentioning Sega at a Nintendo magazine? It's blasphemy. Let's see what comes of this.
He says he's played Sega, one of your rivals around here, but said Sega doesn't come close to Nintendo.
Yeah, that's the only reason that that's the only reason this got printed in this magazine, was so they could diss Sega. Yeah, the ultimate rivalry.
One reason for this is because Nintendo gets all the arcade hits. The phrase, "Oh, you are playing with power," are very true to him. Very true to him. Some of his tips and secrets are: Metroid, collect as much energy as possible. Ridley's fireballs will freeze on the spot with the ice beam. Fight Quaid very close using bombs and missiles. Top Gun, fly high to avoid missiles on level 2. You've got to know how to land.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah. You've got to know how to land, yeah. Yeah, you do. You certainly do have to know how to land. Well, yeah. Yeah, he's right there. If there's one thing you've got to know how to do in Top Gun and the NES, it's know how to land.
Kid Icarus, enter each fortress with full capacity. Kid Icarus, enter each fortress with full capacity. Free as many soldiers as possible for help later.
Mega Man, use other men's weapons.
Use other men's weapons to defeat each other. Well, they are all called something man, Metal Man, Top Spin Man, the Top Man, and so on. So I guess they are all men, but it's kind of, I've never seen anyone talk about getting the men's weapons in Mega Man. And there is one woman somewhere in there now, Splash Woman. They finally decided to have a woman. Rygar, have a lot of health. The Legend of Zelda, have their medicine and purchase a Dare's Advantage. Mario Bros get plenty of men. A lot of these tips boil down to just get as many extra lives as possible. We elected Brian Brewer for our power player because we've had our NESs for almost 1 year. Brian has had his only 3 months. We elected him because he was the first to pass Ganon twice. Well, that sounds painful. Also, he passed Mother Brain. Oh dear. those spikes in her head. And Bowser on SMB on 8.4. Brother, all this stuff coming out. That'll be the last time he goes to Taco Bell. He has a Commodore 128 and gets his playing skills from there. He's also been elected vice president of our club. He likes to play baseball, pitcher, basketball, forward, football, quarterback, and soccer goalie. His favourite, I'm surprised that American publication acknowledged the existence of soccer in the 80s. His favourite games are Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! 2 exclamation marks, Metroid, Zelda, and Kid Icarus. He likes crawling and is actually pretty good at crawling. One of his skills is crawling on the ground. I'm not so good at that anymore. My knees hurt when I crawl. Noticed. Don't know why that is exactly. When we asked for tips, he gave us these. How do you knock down Mike Tyson even once? You've only got to do it once. Oh no, wait, you've got to do it 3 times. Never mind, sorry. I understand. Well, Mike likes to get in close and let you have it. Mike certainly does. History has certainly proven that. Dodge right and left, then if you dodge them both, show him what a 1-2 punch can do. Then Mike's mad. I'm made, says Mike Tyson. Just dodge the best you can and smack him with a star punch and down he goes. On Metroid, how do you deal with a low-energy crisis? Well, I try to keep a low profile with monsters or aliens or whatever. I'm imagining this guy like sitting in an armchair in a big dark fancy room and answering these questions like a sophisticated, accomplished, respected man. I love my NES Advantage because I just explode with rays everywhere. You should have kept that one to yourself, I think. Eric Bast, Nintendo Power Player. Eric Bast, age 14. Favourite games? Oh, gee willikers, a bunch of games. Wizards and Warriors. He likes trampoline jumping and solving his and his friends' Nintendo games. They keep talking about solving games. Solving your games. I've solved... Hey, did you hear? I solved Skyrim the other day. Solved World and Warcraft. Solved World of Warcraft. Can you even complete World of Warcraft? Does that have an ending? I'm guessing it doesn't, because there's got to be something that hooks everybody, like never leaving their computer screens to play that game. Or maybe the ending takes like 10,000 hours of gameplay to reach. Nobody's made it yet. I don't know. Pets. They got 1.5 cats. Okay, I think he means one of the cats is a child, but for a second I thought one of them was sliced in half. I don't... Well, got a lot of information about this kid. Oh, he wants to become a other interest, to become a dentist and to become a Nintendo game counselor. Those are pretty different career options there, kid. It's nice to see, like, it's nice to see a child thinking about, like, oh, I could become a dentist or I could become a call center worker. Which one? It's nice to see a child's perspective on this sort of thing. They've not had it they've not had it beaten into their skull yet, the idea that you're supposed to pick one like precise career type kind of thing and just stick with that for the rest of your life. And also they don't have any of the elitist concepts of the world, like the idea that a dentist is an objectively better human being than a call center worker. Essentially, stuff like that. They don't have any grasp of the idea that people would generally prefer to be a dentist than to have people shout at them about their internet dial-up speed over a phone. But yeah, to solve every existing Nintendo game, that's his ultimate goal. Good reflexes, good hand-eye coordination, solves games quickly and stuff. That makes you a power player. Doesn't sweat on the controller. I thought it said doesn't swear on the controller. Doesn't sweat on the controller. I've never sweated playing a video game. Man. Best tips. More tips. Kid Icarus and stuff. I don't care. Whatever. Kraid, the mini-boss of Hideout 1. I've never seen it. I've never heard of the areas in Metroid 1 called hideouts. But that's his tips. And what's Nestor saying? Calling all power players. Would you like... that finger Nestor's holding up there, I thought it was something else. I thought he was doing something else. Would you like to see your name up in lights? Send us a letter recounting your video game achievements. Nintendo Power, where does your favourite game rank? And then here's another one of these random cartoon men that has no reason to be there. Oh, look at the cartoon man lying to the side and pointing at the orange thing, and a bunch of toilet paper falling around him or something. I don't even know. Oh wait, okay, the second half of the page makes it a little clearer, I suppose. There's a whole bunch of men running really fast, and he fell over in front of them. I guess it's a metaphor about like being the first in a race to like, this is the ranking of like the order that these men won that race in is like the top 30 ranking of games. Whatever. The first rank 1 is The Legend of Zelda. It's got 214 points. The players poll. So the players believed Zelda's best. Punch Out, Metroid. Let's see if there's something really stupid in this list. Super Mario Bros. 5. So like a true official magazine, all of the top games are official first-party games. I remember the NOM UK was the same. All the top-ranked games were naturally official Nintendo ones. I trusted that magazine, but eventually I realised, yeah, they must have been. They're just, you know, it was all. Sure, there was a bit of bias going on. Probably the higher-ups at Nintendo were putting some pressure on them to give their games good reviews, I imagine. RC Pro-Am is at 6, Ice Hockey, Rad Racer, Top Gun, and Double Dribble. A basketball game is in the top 10 Nintendo games. Look at, what a disgrace. Double Dribble. Let's go over, let's look at this list on the right hand side. Let's have a look at this list on the right hand side over here. Let's see what's apparently less good than Double Dribble. Castlevania, Mega Man, Excitebike, Contra, Gradius, and you can make cases for at least some of the rest of them, but they're a bit more controversial. I think Mega Man has stood the test of time. I think Mega Man and Contra and Castlevania and the like have stood the test of time a bit better than Double Dribble, a game that I've literally never even heard of until I started reading this magazine. Double Dribble. What do we have here? The combined rankings are based on the top 30 from each department. Players' picks, pros' picks, and dealers' picks. What's the pro supposed to be dressed like? What's that hat he's got on? What? This is what a professional looks like according to Nintendo Power. They've got a hillbilly cross... What do they call that? A hillbilly cross-stitched crisscrossing checkerboard shirt and a hillbilly cap. They're basically a deep south person. That's what a professional is. Alright. I mean, they might be. It's not the first thing I think of when I think of professionals. And the dealers, the salesmen on the right. Although the pros' bulging eyes are a little bit creepy, I've got to say. They're massive. They're like they're popping out of their sockets. They look like they're about to blow out. So what do the pros think then? What do the pros think? Let's see if the pros have better taste. I see Pro-Ams in there at least. Not seeing Double Dribble though. So they were smart enough to leave Double Dribble out of it. Who are the dealers? Who on earth are the dealers? They think RC Pro-Am is the best. Yeah, so pros, Mega Man is in the top 10 in their list. And Rygar. Contra's not, though. Raid on Bungling Bay. I've not heard of that. Solomon's Key. Athena! They've got Athena? Okay, the pros are... I think the pros are the only group that have Athena on their list. So, these pros, I'm not sure they deserve to be called professionals. Next issue. Coming up next issue. Salmon's Quest by Advertisements and Bionic Commando. Get the heck out of here, you nerd, Bionic Commando. Dear. Plus, don't miss our regular features like Pack Watch, where we dig deep into get upcoming games and yeah, all that stuff. Don't miss it! Coming soon to this screen! Dear player, let's see the closing letter from Howard W. Phillips. I'm assuming that's what that adult writing says. Dear player, no, he's not English, come on. So, oh well, he's Howard from Howard and Nesta, isn't he? So,
Dear player, we hope you enjoyed reading the first issue of Nintendo Power as much as we enjoyed making it. We spent many hours doing research playing games in order to bring you the most complete reviews, the best tricks, and the raddest reading ever. I even jetted to Japan for a week to work with our Nintendo Power staff over there. You try to explain Wheel of Fortune to someone who doesn't speak English. It was great to make new friends and to meet some pretty hot game players too.
That means something different nowadays. Dear, what was Howard up to over there? Getting up to some shifty business, Howard. Brother.
Maybe we'll even provide a few of them in a future issue. Nintendo Power will come out every other month, and we want to provide you with the very best in video journalism. We've discontinued the Fun Club News so that we can devote all our energy to making Nintendo Power the best magazine you could ever subscribe to. What could be more fun? So if you have an opinion about something, or a top tip you want to share, we'd like to hear about it. See you in September, Howard W. Phillips.
And then another W, I think, at the end.
P.S. I'm working real hard on Zelda 2. Look for it. It's going to be great.
Not everybody feels that way. Actually, most people don't feel that way, Howard, but I feel that way. Join us in the vast Nintendo Power. Don't be left behind. Subscribe today. Learn to play faster, smarter, and blast your way to higher scores with a subscription to Nintendo Power. Look at that. Tick. Yes! What's the point of having a tick box if... Wait a minute. Why is there a tick box? You only send this card off if you want to subscribe. So why is there a box saying, yes, I want to subscribe? Or is that a yes? Is that yes? Or is that asking, yes, I want to get this discount on the subscription? Because, yeah, I agree with the big fat letters there. I don't know why you would not tick that box. Yes, I want to pay less money for my subscription. Send my free, full-colour, poster-sized, incredible magazine.
Offer expires September 30th, 1988.
Please print and use ink. Fun Club membership. Important. Really important that you've got Fun Club membership. So, yeah, you subscribe to Nintendo Power by sending that off, but the offer's invalid, so don't even try it now. Nintendo Power, exciting new world of magazine. I see they copyrighted the word power there, going by that TM. Read Nintendo Power to sharpen your skills, take control of your game, and amaze your friends with blockbuster scores. Just look at the monster review of Super Mario Bros. 2 in the front of this issue. You'll be a master in no time with all those facts, figures, and detailed action moves at your fingertips. Then, unleash the power of the pros on your own game. Try some of the programmer's secrets of classified information. Nintendo Power brings you page after page, back page of great ideas, new angles, and fun 6 times a year. Subscribe now to Nintendo Power and get these 2 dynamite offers. Save $6 on the thing. Free Nintendo calendar. A pin-up Nintendo calendar featuring the ravishing figures of Mega Man and Bayou Billy and Kickle Cubicle. All your favourite classic NES characters. Now that you've experienced Nintendo Power Magazine, don't miss a single action-packed, fun-filled issue. Again with the subscription card. And this really, whoever owned this whoever owned this magazine has let it go into the state that I think anybody in history has let their magazine go into. Mine are like that as well. All the little creases and things at the sides. Choose your next challenge from the most powerful library in the universe. Wow. Closing out with this power metaphor as well. I puked on my Golden Sun instruction book. I remember that. Might as well. You're welcome. You know what it means to play with power, to play powerful games with powerful graphics and get powerful excitement powerfully. And power with Power Nintendo, Power you Power, also Power, get the power of the Power Choice Power. Over 1 Power 100 block Power Buster die Power tools to Power Choose from with Fabu Power Ulas, Few Poo, Few Power Tuture, Few Power Utsure, Power Mega Hip Powers. Lining power right power behind power them. Seek powers quills you'll power want to power XP power powerance for yours power self, like Super Power Mario 2 and Power Zelda Power 2, the Power Adventure of Power Link. Because the power plot has power thickened for Power Mario and Link, and power we've got the power technology to power keep you on your power toes. You power won't want to power miss any power of our power upcoming power licensee power titles either. Look power for the summer power release of the power latest power arcade power hits, like Power Marble Madness and Power 19 Power 54. Of power check out the Power Stakes, Power of Power Day and Wheel of Power Tune, and power then in the Pow All that's Big Power and Power Derb and Power Chows, and the Empower Miss and Diana Pounds and the Powerful of Powum. Power the powest to experiments the powest pouts for the pouse. Choose your for the pow wow wows. Choose your power challenge and power up to the power. Now you're powering with power. Now you're playing with play. The Nintendo Entertainment Power. The final page. That was a good note to close on. So yeah, the first issue of Nintendo Power ever. How does it hold up? Well, it's not bad actually. I was expecting this to be way more cheesy and stupid and childish and all that sort of thing, but no, this was a respectable amount of information in this magazine. A lot of useful knowledge about upcoming games and walkthroughs and how to play them. A bit of gumph with these readers writing in saying this guy's good at games. That's it. He's good at games. He plays games fast, solves them quickly. They don't need a section every 2 months to have somebody saying that about someone. And that weird bit where it just talked about actors in films that are coming out soon that had nothing to do with Nintendo. But yeah, this all in all, this is nice. Good magazine. As a Scottish person with no nostalgic attachment to Nintendo Power, I got to say that I approve of this one. I've got to say, the thumbs up. I've got to give the thumbs up to Nintendo Power, issue 1. Good job, America. Now, let's finish off the Nintendo Power extravaganza, though, by reading the very last Howard and Nestor, to bring a tear to all of you. Bring a tear to all of your eyes that read the final issue. Whoa! Tracked it down. I tracked it down. The final Howard and Nestor comic. Last one ever made. Which was the final page of the final issue of Nintendo Power, which came out like 30 years after the original, which came out in 2016, I think. Almost 30 years after it started. Let's close this series off. Let's close out this with this. Nestor and Maxwell. Or rather Max, sorry. Oh well.
I thought I'd find you here!
Oh, hey, Max. I'm just filing away this month's issue of Nintendo Power. I can't believe it's the last one.
Yeah, me neither. You've been reading Nintendo Power for a long time, haven't you, Dad?
Since the start, and I've still got every issue all in mint condition. Well, except for the posters I tore out.
Which issue is your favorite?
Oh, that's easy. The first one. I used to read the Zelda tips to you at bedtime. You remember?
Level 9 is under a rock in the 6th screen from the left on the top.
That's my boy! Neff! Oh!
Dad, are you gonna take the posters down now?
What? No! Why would I?
Do you think you'll ever read the first issue again?
Yeah, of course! Of course!
I'm sure this touched the heartstrings of everybody that had grown up with this long enough to have read Howard and Nestor, but I doubt that anybody read this with the voices that I just gave them, because they probably wouldn't have felt so touched if they had done. But, well, that was Howard and Nestor. So, goodbye, Nintendo Power. The good ship Nintendo Power might have sailed, the Power Parade might have finally come to an end, but Nintendo themselves are still standing. After all these years, Nintendo is still around. Nintendo is still around, still making video games. May that never change.
Hayward, Hayward and Master are their names. Are their names.